Chapter 1383. The Libra World. The Berserk Yang beat up the Light Guardian Sovereign for half an hour before he gradually woke up from his rage and regained his senses. The Light Guardian Sovereign had fought against the peerless Emperor Wu Shi, Mo Long, Yu Yang and Ji Zun. He was already exhausted, but then the situation changed. In order to break the wall of sighing, he suffered the backlash of the ancient code and was heavily injured. After using the forbidden power, he was attacked by Ji Zun's life cord trio. No matter how strong the Light Guardian Sovereign was, his endurance had reached its limit. Nirvana Flame, Fate Divine Weapon, and Yu Yang's Berserk Attack. Now that his divine body was already dim and his divine throne was already broken, he could still support his body and block in front of the ancient passage. It was simply a miracle. Even Yu Yang, after regaining his senses, he couldn't help but sigh at his will to protect. This guy is stronger than me. Although I don't want to admit it, I have to admit it. Mo Long rarely admired others, but he felt that he couldn't do what the Light Guardian Sovereign did. His divine body was already smashed into pieces, but his will still controlled his 40,000-meter divine body to block the ancient passage, preventing Shui Wuxia and the others from forming the wall of sighing to seal the passage. They are all abnormal. Titan Yu is, Peerless Emperor is, and this Light Guardian Sovereign is too. Jiet Songxing's voice was trembling. He felt so ashamed that he couldn't show his face. They were both old fellows who had lived for a long time. Why was Jiet Songxing so awesome and he was such trash? You forgot about the Dead Sea Guardian Sovereign and Deity Temple Sovereign Tianyu. Oh right, there's also Titan Yu's mother. Qi Danzi was even more unbearable. He had never seen so many powerful people in his life. He thought he was not bad before, but who knew that compared to them, he was just a joke. Mo Long nodded. He agreed with the statement that these guys were all abnormal. However, he suddenly reacted and stared at Subtraction Mortal Life and Qi Danzi angrily. Wait, why isn't my name here? Am I not awesome too? Don't I look like a pervert? Subtraction Mortal Life's Qi Danzi was sweating profusely. His expression was awkward. However, there was no benefit in angering this Lord Mo Long, who was the fiercest person in the Heaven Realm and whom even Titan Yu called boss. Thus, the two of them cooperated and said, "Ah, how is that possible? Of course you are a pervert, you are the most pervert. No one is more perverted than you. Even the perverted Titan Yu calls you boss, right? If you aren't a pervert, then who is? Of course you are. Boss, not only are you, but you're also an undeniable pervert." After the mystic dragon heard this flattery, he was very happy. He was also one of them. However, when he thought about it, he felt that something was amiss. Unfortunately, he couldn't find it. Master Scarlet Dan and Master Reduced Commoner also reacted. Their foreheads were full of sweat, and they were afraid that the mystic dragon would notice. They quickly shouted to divert his attention. Ah, danger! Grey Wolf's scalp was grabbed by Freedom Heaven and his mouth was pressed to the ground. He was pushed for tens of thousands of meters, but he couldn't break free. On the other side, Ah Man and Red, who were wielding the Hammer of Fate, were in even more danger. Their opponent was Happy Sky, who had a pessimistic personality but was not inferior to them. If it wasn't for Shui Wuxia and City Mistress Fallen Flowers, who were inside the crystal wall, continuously attacking from a distance, they probably wouldn't even be able to last 10 minutes. The only one who had an advantage was the Illusion Moon Goddess. She was facing the cruel and ruthless Ultimate Sky, who liked to stay at the top of the sky. Although the Ultimate Sky believed that his strength was above his two companions and was very confident in challenging the Illusion Moon Goddess, the strongest enemy, he regretted it a little after the fight. Because the Illusion Moon Goddess was a very thorny and difficult enemy. The Ultimate Sky had tens of thousands of ultimate moves, but each of them focused on killing. In terms of attack, they were extremely powerful. However, killing was ineffective against this opponent. This was a super strong enemy who had grasped the power of eternity and the power of fate. His killing intent could not affect the moon at all. Even if the moon was covered by dark clouds, the moon would be able to penetrate the clouds in an instant. The bright moon was eternal and could not be destroyed by any external force. The ultimate celestial felt even more depressed when he saw that the celestial carefree and the celestial joyous were having a smooth battle. He couldn't help but complain, "Celestial carefree, let's trade. My killing intent can kill that despicable dog, and your great carefree can fight against the moon, sure." Freedom Heaven didn't have any objections. He knew that it was a mistake for Ultimate Sky to choose the illusion moon goddess as his opponent, but he didn't say it out for the sake of unity. This was exactly what he wanted. "Why don't I trade with you? That's a world-destroying demon wolf, and it's very dangerous." Happy Sky didn't think that Ultimate Sky would be able to defeat Grey Wolf. "What did you say?" Ultimate Sky felt that he was being severely underestimated. "I'm just suggesting that you don't mind." Happy Sky's strength was actually not inferior to Ultimate Sky's, but he was naturally afraid of his companion. When he saw Ultimate Sky's expression, he immediately changed his words. Freedom Heaven glanced at the Light Guardian Sovereign and found that he was still guarding the ancient passage, and Yu Yang had already stopped attacking. Thus, he took the initiative to trade with Ultimate Sky. "Bitch, it's time for you to die." Now that Ultimate Sky was facing Grey Wolf, he heaved a sigh of relief. Arrogance and confidence grew in his heart again. Meow. Grey Wolf accidentally acted cute. "You're courting death." Ultimate Sky realized that the other party didn't even look at him, and he couldn't help but be furious. "If I don't turn you into a fragrant dog stew, I won't be called the temple's #1 killing god, Ultimate Sky." Who had ever heard of the temple's #1 killing god? Grey Wolf used his claws to dig his ears. Who didn't know how to brag? A certain damn fatty even claimed to be the most handsome guy in Tong Tian Tower, who was praised by everyone and envied by God since ancient times. Seeing that his master had regained her rationality and stopped fighting, Grey Wolf immediately rushed forward. Flattering his master was much more important than fighting with the temple's #1 killing god. Especially in such a tense situation, it was a good opportunity to make his presence known. Yu Yang sent this fellow flying with a flying kick. F***CK, if you want to die, then stop me from picking up girls. He rushed to the front of the illusion moon goddess and looked left and right. Suddenly, his whole body went limp. As if his bones were pulled out, he fell to the ground motionlessly. However, his face was no longer dejected, but filled with joy. The illusion moon goddess looked at him in confusion. She didn't understand what was going on at all. Seeing that this brat seemed to be crying tears of joy, her motherly instincts were aroused and she hugged him. "Don't be afraid, I won't leave you. You must have misunderstood just now." Misunderstood? Yu Yang felt a wave of regret when he thought about it. He remembered that Ji Zun was hit by the Light Guardian Ji Zun's ultimate judgment light. She was injured, but her life is not in danger. She went back to rest. This is because the Sovereign God's throne not only controls the enemy's life, but also her own life. She has a deep understanding of the way of life. From life to death, from death to life, from the door of life and death, Godhood, God's throne and law, they are all freely changing between life and death. So you don't have to worry, it was just a misunderstanding. When the illusion moon goddess said this, Yu Yang immediately blushed with shame. It seemed like he was too nervous. When he saw that Ji Zun was hit, he immediately became mad. He didn't think that she had already understood the way of life and death. He saw that Shui Wuxiao and the others were separated by the crystal wall. On the surface, they were supporting Man, Red and the others, but in reality, they were secretly paying attention to him. Especially Bao Er, that naughty girl, who even made faces to mock him. Yu Yang hurriedly jumped out of the illusion moon goddess embrace, pretending to be, "I'm just tired, I need to rest, to cover up his loss of composure. Shui Wuxia and the others pretended not to see it, and turned their attention back to Ah Man, Red and the others. The two of them were fighting more and more intensely, but because of the situation, battle plan and their own safety, they couldn't personally go out to share the pressure. The illusion moon goddess took advantage of the fact that Shui Wuxia and the others weren't paying attention and quickly kissed Yu Yang's lip. She then bit his ear. Next time, wait for her to sleep, then try other positions. It seems like there are still a lot of positions that you haven't learned yet. Brave good boy, there will definitely be many rewards. Hey, please call me good boy. My dream in life is to be a brave good boy. Yu Yang nodded his head seriously. For a guy like him who was as thick-skinned as a city wall and treated shamelessness as nourishment, his moral integrity and whatnot had long fallen to the ground. Hui Tai Lang pretended to be deaf. He was smart. He knew the logic of entering one ear and exiting the other. Otherwise, he would be in danger of becoming a spicy hot dog stew. Before he could even give a thumbs up and praise his master for being so handsome, the furious ultimate god grabbed his throat and threw him 10,000 meters away. From the shock wave of the explosion, Hui Tai Lang, who was completely enraged, jumped out and pounced towards the ultimate god, who was still chasing after him. F***CK, even if you want to bully a dog, you shouldn't do this. This dog will fight it out with you. Jizun didn't die. This surprising result made Yu Yang, who had once cried in despair, felt his heart ache, and hoped to use everything in the world to exchange for Yu Yang's return, relax. However, the battle intent in his heart was the opposite. It was thousands of times stronger. In order to protect the woman he loved, it was useless no matter who came. So what if it was the guardian Jizun? So what if it was the temple Jizun Tianyu? Anyone who dared to stand in his way of picking up girls would only be met with death. They would all be blasted to smithereens by him. Alright. If his other destined opponent, the deity palace's supreme heavenly chariot, knew of his thoughts, he would probably not know whether to laugh or cry. Severing his emotions and abandoning everything in the secular world in order to ascend, the temple Jizun Tianyu had sacrificed a lot for this future. However, his opponent, the third young master of the Yu clan, Tai Tanyu, was still a hero who ignored the heavenly responsibility, determined to save the world and revive the Tong Tian clan. Yu Yang only had one goal in life. That was to be himself and let the girls be happy every day. How simple was that? Yu hugged the extremely weak Jiang Ying and patiently healed her wounds, easing her pain bit by bit and allowing her body to recover bit by bit. Don't be so desperate next time. We all know that you want to work hard and support him, but a dangerous situation will make him very worried. He almost went crazy just now. You don't want him to only have killing and blood in his heart, right? I'm sorry. Hornless Dragon Jiang Ying only wanted to prove herself at that time. However, after thinking about it, she regretted it. You guys are fine. I just want to go out, but Wu Xia and Qian won't let me. Yu also wanted to go out and help her brother. However, she was a human and not a guardian beast that could be revived after dying in battle. In order to prevent being captured or killed by the enemy and affecting Yu Yang's fated battle, Shui Wuxia and Princess Sisai decided that everyone could only stay in this palace made of crystal walls for the time being. Only when the best opportunity arrived would they go out and fight according to the plan and do their best to contribute. Don't run, put on your clothes first. Lu Yi was riding on her perforate deer, but she could not catch up to the flower goddess Loli, who was running around with her but bare. Has Duo completely lost her memories? Xia Yi asked the southern demon king worriedly. How is that possible? City Mistress Fallen Flowers rolled her eyes. Then why won't she put on her clothes? Xia Yi felt that Duo was a completely different person. She hasn't returned to her child form for a long time, so she especially misses it. Sickly Beauty was once so understanding. You will be spanked if you don't wear clothes. This is a bad example, don't learn from her. The drunken cat Big Sis took the opportunity to use this as an example to educate her precious daughter. Nyo Nyo the panda girl had always been an obedient child. She was especially obedient to her mother's words. She nodded her head fiercely as her big eyes looked at Yu Yang, who was standing outside the crystal wall. When she saw him looking at her, she immediately waved at him excitedly. "You guys have no sense of nervousness at all." Princess Sisai, who was originally tense and afraid of making a mistake, could not help but complain. "Sisters, this is the fated battle between the Holy Supremes. Can you guys be more serious? However, this is good. If a large group of people were scared half to death and could only cry, that would be terrible." Chapter 1384. On the other side, the sisters within the crystal wall were still celebrating the recovery of Yu Yang from his berserk state. On the other side, the sky of freedom had already knelt down. Except for greeting their master. They would not kneel to any living beings, including super experts like the guardian sovereign of light. They only lowered their heads in respect. When the sky of freedom and the others knelt down, Shui Wuxia quickly recalled Ah-Man and Red. Grey Wolf still wanted to fight with the ultimate heaven, but was kicked back by Yu Yang. The illusion moon goddess's expression was solemn. She was no longer as relaxed as when she faced the ultimate heaven. She stood beside Yu Yang and sighed softly. "This Tian Yu came faster than we expected. Originally, it would take at least 3 hours to cross the spacetime barrier. Now, it only took half an hour for him to reach the balance world. Your Majesty." Yu Yang was worried that she could not restrain the sovereign of light. She even used the actualized dream to stop Tian Yu. Was she all right? Was she injured? "As long as the dream is not broken, Your Majesty will not be in danger." The illusion moon goddess quickly comforted Yu Yang. That is indeed the case. Tian Yu's figure once again appeared at the end of the ancient passage. He calmly and naturally admitted the illusion moon goddess guess. "Although I have broken through again and feel that my state of mind and theocracy law have all been upgraded, I still cannot break the mirage of the dream. She is an opponent worthy of respect. Before this, her dream must have been a torture to my heart's weakness. Lord of Light Mountain, Deity Temple's sovereign Tian Yu, you seem to have no weaknesses now." The illusion moon goddess estimated that this enemy was at least 100 times stronger than before he walked out of the dream. In terms of soul, he no longer had any weaknesses. Other than defeating him head-on in terms of realm and divine power, there was no other way to defeat this Lord of Light Mountain. Tian Yu shook his head and denied. "No, before this, I also thought that I was close to perfection and that my soul had no weaknesses. However, after experiencing enlightenment once again, I realized that there are too many shortcomings in my body. If possible, I would like to delay it for another 10,000 years to perfect it. At that time, I believe that I will have enough confidence in starting the destined battle between the divine sovereigns." The powerful heaven chariot suddenly became so humble, so rational. In the distance, Shui Wuxia and Princess Sisai looked at each other in shock. This was definitely not a good thing. When an enemy realizes that he has a weakness, that is undoubtedly the most troublesome change. On the contrary, if an enemy thinks that he is invincible, then it is much easier to deal with. The first time Yu Yang met Tian Yu was in His Majesty's dream, separated by a dream. At that time, he could barely see through some of the most superficial things that the enemy revealed on the surface with Heaven Eye's divine vision. When they met again, he was in a frenzy and had almost lost his mind, so he didn't have much of a reaction. But now, this was the third time he saw Tian Yu. There was no longer the barrier of a dream. When he looked at Tian Yu again, he suddenly felt a chill in his heart. It turned out that the heavenly chariot was powerful and terrifying enough. Now, he had changed greatly from before. He was so powerful that it was unimaginable. Even Yu Yang, a guy from another world who feared nothing and loved to go against the heavens, felt a chill in his heart and his limbs stiffen when he saw him. His fighting spirit wanted to burn, but he couldn't. Facing an enemy that was beyond what he could handle, Yu Yang felt a sense of helplessness in his heart. They hadn't even started fighting. If he became like this, wouldn't he just be humiliated by the enemy when the battle officially starts? Go back. Yu Yang's forehead was full of cold sweat. He forcefully swallowed a mouthful of saliva to relieve his nervousness. He signaled the illusion moon goddess to leave immediately. However, the illusion moon goddess hugged his arm and squeezed out a smile. She smiled at him and said, "It's okay. No matter what kind of enemy you face, I will accompany you. Since it is a battle of fate, then it should be equal. No matter how strong he is, you should have your own advantages. I admit that Titan Yu is more outstanding than me in many aspects. Just like what I said, if I still had 10,000 years, then I definitely wouldn't choose to start the fate duel immediately." Heavenly Chariot's current mentality was very low. He didn't seem like a deity temple sovereign or a Radiance mountain lord at all. Instead, he seemed like an ordinary heaven realm warrior that was forced to fight with Yu Yang. "You don't have the confidence to do the best?" Guardian Sovereign of Light suddenly asked. "No." Heavenly Chariot shook his head. "Very good." Guardian Sovereign of Light praised him for the first time. "You can clearly understand yourself. This proves that you have truly advanced. It also proves that the efforts of us old fellows weren't in vain. If you still had 10,000 years to perfect yourself, then participating in the fate duel between the Holy Supremes wouldn't count. This is also the main reason why advancing to the Holy Supremes requires so many sacrifices." "What?" Deity Temple Sovereign Heavenly Chariot was stunned. "You are the Radiance Mountain Lord, and I am the Guardian Sovereign of Light. What do you think the meaning of my protection all these years is?" Guardian Sovereign of Light's body glowed with divine light. "No, I don't need your sacrifice." Deity Temple Sovereign Heavenly Chariot reacted. There was a trace of emotion in his eyes, pain and reluctance. "The ultimate meaning of this sovereign's protection is sacrifice." Guardian Sovereign of Light came in front of Heavenly Chariot, standing proudly. The divine light in his eyes was thousands of times brighter than the sun. The broken divine throne was also glowing, radiating hundreds of millions of brilliance. Guardian Sovereign of Light's giant palm pressed on the top of Heavenly Chariot's head. Light divine power was continuously transmitted into Heavenly Chariot's body. Peerless Emperor Wu Shuang could carry the sacred mountain for Titan Yu. Conquering Queen Fei Wenli could sacrifice herself for him. On every battlefield, countless humans used their lives to protect the Holy Supremes in their hearts. If we want to win this fate duel, the Heaven Realm must also make sacrifices. Not only the people of the Light Temple, but also many lives, should pay for this battle, including me, the Guardian Sovereign of Light. "But I have enough power to defeat Titan Yu, you don't have to." Heavenly Chariot didn't struggle, but he really didn't want the Guardian Sovereign of Light, who was both a teacher and a friend, to sacrifice for him. He had already paid enough, and should enjoy everything after victory, and not bid farewell and leave at the last moment. "You have great power, but it doesn't mean you can completely defeat Titan Yu. Even if you can defeat him, it doesn't mean you can completely surpass yourself." Guardian Sovereign of Light was enraged. "You should abandon everything. Whether it is this sovereign, or others, or any life, any shackles, anything you have is a huge obstacle to your success. Not only do you want to accept this sovereign's light inheritance, you also want to kill me with your own hands. Cut off everything in the past with your own hands, and use a brand new life to advance to a higher realm. This is the most basic thing. If you can't do it, then don't dream about being a holy sovereign anymore." Yu Yang was shocked. "Damn it, Heavenly Chariot was already strong enough, and you still want to pass on your skills to him? Are you going to let others live? The most terrible thing is, isn't this sacrifice a little too big?" Not only did he pass on his skills, he even wanted the other party to kill him, and use this to cut off his shackles. "What do you want to do, being so noble?" Don't tell me you want to move even an enemy like me? An endless amount of light source power entered Heavenly Chariot's body. The deity Templar's divine body behind Heavenly Chariot grew explosively. The golden divine body that was originally 30,000 meters tall, under the guardian sovereign of light's selfless inheritance, grew to a height of 50,000 meters, before slowly stopping. As for the divine throne that was compatible with the light protection attribute, there was now an additional gigantic wheel of light. It was so large that it enveloped Tian Yu's entire divine body. Within it there were boundlessly profound divine rights and laws. On the contrary, the guardian sovereign of light's divine light quickly dimmed, and his heavily injured and broken body continuously collapsed and rotted. Without the support of divine power, he probably couldn't even take a single punch from Yu Yang now. The divine throne that turned out to be so powerful. The fragments fell off piece by piece, disintegrating even faster than the guardian of light's body. Apart from his eyes that were still burning and barely emitting a strand of divine light, the guardian of light no longer had any of the awe-inspiring aura that was shining like the sun and looking down on the world. What are you waiting for? The guardian sovereign of light forcefully suppressed his pain and snorted. This sovereign's sacrifice is to obtain benevolence and justice. It is the greatest liberation in life, and the greatest joy of having one's wish fulfilled. What are you still hesitating for? Yes. Heavenly Chariot closed his eyes, and suddenly 2 streaks of golden tears flowed down from his eyes. His hand, however, firmly stabbed backwards. It deeply penetrated the guardian sovereign of light's chest. When Heavenly Chariot retracted his hand was holding a still beating heart. Heavenly Chariot gritted his teeth, as if he had used all the strength in his body to crush the heart that had already become infinitely weak, and used his divine power to turn it into powder. The guardian sovereign of light's body was like a shadow, and disappeared in the divine light emitted by Heavenly Chariot's body. His divine throne also turned into fine sand. It scattered all over the ground. With a face full of relief and satisfaction, the guardian sovereign of light glanced at the faraway divine mountain. Under that mountain, a powerful opponent that had once shaken his soul was buried. Now he had also embarked on the path of sacrifice, and was destined to pay for nothing, to never return to his slumber. However, he still smiled. Tong Tian Tower can have heroes to sacrifice for their juniors, and the Heaven Realm also has heroes to sacrifice for their juniors. In this fated battle, the Heaven Realm also has to sacrifice, and their sacrifice is no less than yours. The guardian sovereign of light laughed loudly. He turned around and strode towards the depths of the ancient passage. With every step he took, his body melted a little bit under the backlash of the laws, and 2 lines of blood stains under his feet extended all the way. At some point the laughter stopped, and only bloodstains remained on the ground. A breeze blew over from an unknown place, and the bloodstains suddenly began to burn. Whoosh! Blood evaporated. At least not a single trace was left. It was as if the guardian sovereign of light, this super-expert, had never existed in this world. The divine palace's Heavenly Chariot clenched his teeth, clenched his fists, and took deep breaths. When he calmed down and opened his eyes again, there was no longer any emotional fluctuation, and what replaced it was ruthlessness and unswerving determination. The divine light in his eyes was thousands of times more terrifying than the gaze of a fierce tiger looking at a lamb. He stared straight at Yu Yang in front of him, looking at this opponent who was destined to fight to the death in their fated battle. Holy shit! Yu Yang felt his scalp go numb for a moment. How on earth did the higher-ups arrange for such a formidable enemy? This Heavenly Chariot was obviously cheating, and they didn't care? Hurry up and seal his account. Now with this, they were forcing him to make a phone call to complain. Chapter 1385. Radiance Mountain. Heaven-splitting demon Venerable frowned. He stood below, looking up at the unimaginably huge Radiance Mountain. His expression was solemn, as if he had never seen such a majestic mountain before. However, that was not the case. He, who was determined to flatten the Radiance Mountain and wipe out the entire heaven realm, had such an expression, mainly because he discovered that all the shrines on the Radiance Mountain had disappeared. Instantly, it vanished into thin air. On this Radiance Mountain, all the shrines, regardless of size, regardless of which faction they belonged to, had all disappeared, leaving only the original empty space on the ground. The Radiance Steps and Radiance Divine Gate that one had to worship before entering had also disappeared. The strangest thing was that all the Guardian Divine Generals, Divine Envoys, Light Warriors, and so on, which were originally being slaughtered by Heaven's Splitting Demon Venerable, had instantly disappeared along with the shrines, disappearing right under Heaven's Splitting Demon Venerable's nose, disappearing without a trace. Only many shocked and terrified servants were left on the Radiance Mountain. After losing their support, they had a mental breakdown. Some were screaming, some were running everywhere. What exactly happened here? Heaven's Splitting Demon Venerable was very puzzled. After a long time, a thought flashed in his mind. Could it be related to Deity Templar's supreme, heavenly chariot? Was that guy playing tricks? But what was the benefit of doing so? Heaven's Splitting Demon Venerable was puzzled. He was about to turn around and leave for the time being. Although he had the intention to flatten the Radiance Mountain and conquer the Heaven Realm, such a strange thing had happened. He decided to wait and see, and was not in a hurry to start a war. Just as he lifted his foot, before he could even take a step forward and tear space apart to leave, a terrifying earthquake that could shake one's soul came from behind. Looking back, Heaven's Splitting Demon Venerable's eyes revealed a look of fear, because he saw an impossible scene unfolding before his eyes. The Radiance Mountain that nothing in the world could shake, that even gods could not help but sigh at, had actually collapsed. Heaven's Splitting Demon Venerable's eyes were filled with disbelief, but the truth was right in front of him. A terrifying sound rang out. It was as if a pillar in the Radiance Mountain had been broken. The whole world was trembling. The Radiance Mountain continued to crack. Among the cracks that were as dense as spider webs, the smallest crack was more than 10,000 meters wide. The thickest ones were probably hundreds of thousands of meters wide. On the great Radiance Mountain's divine platform Golden Peak, a sacred place that only gods were qualified to set foot in, the divine peak that was more than 1,000,000 meters tall was directly broken in the middle. Its collapse led to the collapse of the entire Radiance Mountain. The Heaven's Splitting Demon Venerable opened his mouth. His throat felt dry, and he couldn't even say a word. Amidst the eruption of hundreds of millions of scorching lava, the divine peak of the Golden Peak of the spiritual altar fell down, stabbing straight into the ground. The entire sky became dark because of its fall. For a moment, the sky, which was originally filled with divine light, had faint signs of the light being extinguished. The wan mo had risen. Ha 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 ha! Heaven's Splitting Demon Venerable finally regained his senses. He raised his head to the sky and laughed. Is that so? The divine supreme heavenly chariot, for the sake of victory, for the sake of achieving his goal, he even gave up the Radiance Mountain? Such great determination, such great determination! Heavenly chariot, are you going to bring your sacred hall to a higher realm? Ha ha, how naive! Without the support of the Radiance Mountain, without the endless supply of light divine power, without those old ghosts, you really think you can succeed after abandoning everything in the past and facing the future with a brand new attitude? Heavenly chariot, oh heavenly chariot, as smart as you are, you finally can't resist this fatal temptation. Just like me in the past, you are determined to move forward, to walk on this path that is destined to be a dead end without turning back? You are very powerful and very smart. That's right, you are a super-perfect genius. I am very glad that you are such a person. Although I am also a genius, I may be slightly better than you. At least I have maintained half of my consciousness in this aspect. I wish you good luck, heavenly chariot. As a senior, I want to say that I am very happy to see everything that has happened. Now my heart is much more comfortable. At least I am no longer lonely, I am no longer alone. Yes, I will never tell you the truth of my failure. I will guard this secret, and then watch coldly from the sidelines. I will watch as geniuses emerge one after another in the future. I will watch as they exhaust all their efforts, exhaust all their means, and finally step on this path of no return. Ahahaha! Heavenly chariot, you are only the first. Perhaps you are not, the guardian of light is. But it doesn't matter. What I want to do now, the only thing I want to do, is to destroy more geniuses like you. From now on, this world has become a little interesting. Should I add a little catalyst to it? Yes, I want to make this heaven realm more lively, and make it more exciting. Heaven-splitting demon Venerable, who was in a great mood, laughed so hard that tears almost flowed out. His hand gently opened a mysterious divine gate. Then he laughed, while walking, leaving. When his figure disappeared, in the sky, on the enormous golden peak of the divine altar, the supreme divine peak that had once been consecrated as a tangible divine statue, the supreme divine peak that belonged to the guardian of light, came crashing down with a rumble. It plunged heavily into the ground. The shock wave was even more terrifying than the self-destruction of thousands of gods, and instantly destroyed everything on the ground. In the world of balance, the divine palace's heavenly chariot, who was confronting Yu Yang, did not hear heaven-splitting demon Venerable's almost crazy laughter. His expression was so calm, so resolute, and there was no fluctuation in his eyes. It was completely beyond the ruthlessness of hatred and killing. There was no anger, no sorrow, no contempt, and no neglect. There was only a kind of suffocating suppression that completely occupied the upper hand. Originally, his strength far surpassed heavenly chariots, and now that he had inherited all the power of the Guardian of Light, not to mention him, even the opposite Yu Yang did not feel that he could win this fated battle. If he could bet, Yu Yang would not bet even a copper coin on himself. The problem was that the guy from another world had no other choice. He had to fight. The fated battle of the future divine sovereign forced him to brace himself and stand on the opposite side of the divine palace's heavenly chariot. At this moment, Yu Yang felt that he was standing in the crater of a volcano that was about to erupt. Perhaps in the next second, he would be burned to ashes, or perhaps in the next second, he would be blasted out of space by a terrifying force. Summon the imperial godly armor. Heavenly Chariot's emotions did not fluctuate at all. His heart was like a black hole, and no matter what was thrown in, it would be swallowed up. Even if his strength could crush the enemy, he still summoned his strongest defense. The 4 god armor that originated from the heaven-reaching tower's 6 godly weapons had already been refined by Heavenly Chariot, becoming the imperial godly armor that completely belonged to him. Of course, the summoning of the 4 god armor was only the beginning. Many more godly weapons would be summoned one after another. Some of them, Yu Yang had only read about in ancient history books, but there were some that he had never even heard of, let alone seen. Godly armor, godly helmet, godly wings, godly ring, and godly shield. The guy from another world, who originally made everyone feel inferior because of his many godly weapons, now looked at the divine palace's heavenly chariot opposite him. Damn, this is a real nouveau riche. He is the real tall, rich, and handsome. Just like Yu Yang, Heavenly Chariot summoned a heavenly halberd and stuck it on the ground beside him. Yu Yang dared to say that the power of this thing could definitely break his Nirvana battle armor. Otherwise, the Divine Palace's Lord of Light Mountain wouldn't have taken it out to show off. Why must it be me? Yu Yang sighed incessantly. He was a person who had no ambition and only wanted to muddle along. With a girl by his side, his days would not be too happy. He did not ask for anything else. As for the important task of saving the heaven-reaching tower and reviving the 3 clans, he could just leave it to someone else. Why did he have to find a junior with no ambition like him? Far away, there was the peerless Emperor Wu Shuang. Middle, there was Queen Vivian Li and His Majesty. Near, there was the prison Emperor and Jizun. If he really couldn't find anyone, even that Dong Feng who liked to scheme behind people's backs would do. Anyway, he would definitely be willing to take on this kind of important task of saving the people. Why did he have to find someone like him who didn't want to stand out at all? You guys didn't even ask if I agreed or not. I just woke up. It seems like I haven't brushed my teeth yet. You suddenly said that you want to have a fate duel and even want to decide the winner in one battle. Damn, this is simply playing with people to death. I don't want to play anymore, okay? Why don't we stop fighting and consider it your win? Isn't it good for everyone to be harmonious and make money? Yu Yang was speechless as he suggested. As long as you people from the Heaven Realm withdraw from Tong Tian Tower, then everything before will be considered even. You can be your holy sovereign, and we will live our lives. The prestige of the holy sovereign will be established in endless sacrifice and fierce competition. We, the Heaven Realm, desire to win and sacrifice. If you can repay this sacrifice, then I will allow you to surrender. The meaning of the Divine Palace's Ji Zun couldn't be more obvious. If you can resurrect the Guardian of the Light, resurrect all the people who died in the battle, and repay all the sacrifices in this battle, then this matter can only be discussed. You killed the Guardian of the Light, okay? Yu Yang felt that Uncle Tian Yu was very unreasonable. I will kill you as repayment. This was Tian Yu's attitude. Then there's nothing to talk about? Yu Yang was very angry. The fate duel, from the start, will not end until one side is dead. The Divine Palace's Ji Zun's expression was calm. Titan Yu, no matter what you say, you can't shake my will. Other than fighting, you have no other choice. You are too much of a bully. How did I offend you? I am just a junior, and so many of you old ghosts joined hands to suppress me. What do I owe you? This is too unreasonable. Only you are allowed to kill, and I still have to obediently hand over my head. Is this how you act as seniors? Yu Yang felt that it was very unfair. I have trained bitterly for 10,000 years, and you have only trained for 10 years. Yet, you are standing in front of me. Can I also feel that it is unfair? Tian Yu asked. That is because you forced me. I never thought that it would be like this. Yu Yang became even angrier when he heard this. So this is the arrangement of fate, Tian Yu said with certainty. Then come. When Yu Yang was forced to a dead end, he was also very happy. He still had a sliver of a way to survive, and he could be lazy at any time. However, when he was really forced to a dead end, he would not dream of his enemy's mercy, and would instead fight with his life on the line. The Nirvana flame rose up along with his battle intent. Tian Yu, do you think you can definitely defeat me? I have also comprehended destruction, creation, and eternity. I might not be able to defeat you, but do you want to kill me? Come and try. I will tell you that training bitterly for 10,000 years is still useless. Boss Missouri Long has still struggled in the endless world for 1,000,000 years. Some time is simply meaningless. Hey, you have to summon your courage, and don't use my matter as a shield. Mo Long heard that good news did not go out, but embarrassing matters spread far and wide. This time, his image was finished. Chapter 1386. The two of them faced each other. They stood still. Deity Templar Supreme Tian Yu's expression was calm, but Yu Yang's eyes were burning with rage. Yu Yang needed rage to fight, and the angrier he was, the more power he could unleash. It was unimaginable in a berserk state. The reason why he made such a long speech earlier was to stimulate his own fighting spirit. The more arrogant the enemy was, the more he could ignite his own fighting spirit, and the more he could unleash his own power. Roar, 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 roar. Yu Yang shouted, Nirvana flame turned into armor on his body, and his fire wings extended to both sides. Imprisonment Shrine. Tian Yu raised his right hand slightly. A speck of golden light appeared in his palm. It transformed into a divine hall and enveloped the sky above the dueling battlefield. The shrine grew larger and larger, and finally, it materialized on the ground of the Libra world. At first glance, this was the ruins of a divine temple. It was unknown how many battles it had been through to become this dilapidated. However, its divine power and law were still there. Moreover, it did not weaken because of its appearance. On the contrary, its law was getting stronger and stronger. It was so strong that even the demonic dragon, Subtraction Life, and the others who were lying on the edge of the divine mountain could feel its power. Xue Wuxia and Princess Sisai, who were inside the crystal wall, quickly retreated, afraid that if they were not careful, the enemy would find an opportunity. Illusion Moon Goddess also rushed over to protect them. She looked at Freedom Sky, Joy Sky and Ultimate Sky cautiously. Under the amplification of the shrine's law, their fighting strength increased. She had no choice but to leave Yu Yang. She rushed back to protect them. Yu Yang opened his hands and looked at them in shock. He realized that his rage was decreasing bit by bit, and when he regained his rationality, the rage in his heart seemed to be restrained by some sort of law, and could not explode no matter how hard he tried. "I've heard of you, Titan Yu, especially Dongfang, who made the most accurate judgment about you. He said that you're good at reversing events because you have a terrifying power in your body, a power that you're not good at or even know how to use. Once you lose your rationality and become violent, that power will automatically take over your body, allowing you to reverse life and death at the most dangerous moment." The deity's Templar's supreme martial artist Tian Yu calmly looked at Yu Yang and said, "Although your strength is below mine, I do not wish for any accidents to occur, nor do I wish for any unforeseen events to occur in this destined battle." Yu Yang was speechless. Damn it, she didn't even give him a chance to get angry, right? "You may begin." Sovereign Heaven Charger of the deity's Templar made a gesture of invitation. Yu Yang braced himself and charged towards Tianyu. When his fist landed heavily on the enemy's face, Li Tianlan's eyes widened. At the same time, he discovered that there was a power that struck back at his face, and it was not the deity's Templar's supreme martial artist Tian Yu's attack. Yu Yang staggered 3 steps back, and discovered that the 4 gods' armor worn by Tian Yu, which was the current Imperial Sky Divine Armor, contained an unbreakable backlash power, and its godly power allowed Yu Yang's attack to be returned 100%. Tian Yu didn't even blink. He touched his cheek and shook his head, saying, "Your speed is too slow and your strength is too weak. Without the violent power you can't even exert 1/10 of your strength." As soon as he finished speaking, Yu Yang had already launched a flying kick, and a crescent moon-like upside-down kick landed on Tian Yu's chest. The final blow landed on Tian Yu's chin. Not waiting for Tian Yu to react, Yu Yang had already used the force to fly far away, and retreated far away. The star explosion shot out the moment it retreated. Behind the glittering cover, the blood arrow, which simulated the supreme martial artist's sword style of life, was drawn to the limit in the nirvana bow that Yu Yang had conjured, and shot towards the deity's Templar's supreme martial artist Tian Yu's forehead. Capture! Tian Yu stretched out his right hand, and firmly grasped the star explosion that Yu Yang had unleashed in the palm of his hand, and the blood arrow that shot towards him was caught by his left hand. The terrifyingly powerful star explosion was directly crushed by Tian Yu's grip, and stardust scattered in all directions. The blood arrow! It made him take a second look. Tian Yu casually threw away the blood arrow, and casually stretched out his foot. With a heavy stomp, he extinguished the ultimate godly flames that were extremely condensed together. Other than the eternal and inextinguishable nirvana flame, all the flames that Yu Yang had comprehended in his life were easily extinguished by Tian Yu. Tian Yu stepped over the blood arrow that was greatly weakened, but still slightly burned by the nirvana flame. His gaze was calm as ever as he looked at Yu Yang, as if waiting for him to launch more attacks. How are we supposed to fight like this? Mo Long covered his face, not daring to look. The difference in strength was too great. If Tian Yu fought with Yu Yang, it would be like bullying a noob. Quickly think of a way. Reduce the lives person and Qi Danzi also felt that it was hopeless. Just relying on Titan Yu alone would be enough to kill Tian Yu in a minute. Their only hope now was to find an old ghost like the Honorable Guardian of Light. It would be best if it was the kind of old guy that hadn't appeared for hundreds of thousands of years in Tong Tian Tower. Even if he couldn't personally suppress Tian Yu, he could at least send tens of thousands of meters of godly power to Titan Yu. Now, Titan Yu's 10,000-meter godly body was even more miserable than before under the suppression of Tian Yu's 50,000-meter godly body. At least the Honorable Guardian of Light was crippled by Emperor Wu Shuang. Tian Yu had gone all out, and he had even received the inheritance of the Honorable Guardian of Light's power. Without any external help, they knew that they would definitely lose this battle. There should be someone behind Titan Yu, right? Reduce the lives person felt that this didn't make sense. Tian Yu had so many powerful people supporting him, so how could Titan Yu be alone? There should be a lot of people supporting him from behind. Moreover, didn't Tong Tian Tower produce many powerful people in the past? Why not lend a hand now? There didn't need to be many, nor did they need to be high. Anyone that was slightly taller than the Honorable Guardian of Light would do. Emperor Wu Shuang, peerless, can be counted as one, but he's dead. Fei Wenli can also be counted as one, but she can't come, so she's probably not much better right now. Counting down, it's my turn. Mo Long's tone was like a widow who had lost her only child. Then it's over. Reduce the lives person and Qi Danzi felt bitter in their mouth. In the center of the imprisonment shrine, the rational and clear-headed Yu Yang clenched his teeth, summoned his greatest strength, and punched the enemy. This time, Tian Yu didn't stand still. He reached out and grabbed Yu Yang's fist. With a slight tilt of his body, Yu Yang's whole body was lifted up and thrown out involuntarily. Then, he heavily smashed into the ground of the imprisonment shrine. The strong cornerstone of the shrine burst under this kind of impact. Yu Yang took the opportunity to bounce up, but his lower abdomen had already been kicked by Tian Yu. Faster than a meteor, Yu Yang shot back into the sky at high speed. Yu Yang tried his best to control his body. It was too late to stop. Tian Yu's 50,000-meter tall divine body was as flexible as his own fist. He punched down like lightning, hitting Yu Yang in midair. Yu Yang's body fell to the ground at a speed 100 times faster than before. Yu Yang resisted the pain of his broken bones and supported himself with his limbs to resist the mountain-crushing blow of the 50,000-meter tall divine body. Too slow. The tip of Tian Yu's foot just happened to kick Yu Yang's chin, sending him tumbling. When Yu Yang tumbled in midair, Tian Yu reached out and grabbed his ankle, swung him in a semicircle, and smashed him again in front of him. Yu Yang slid on the ground for a long time, more slippery than a loach. His body shot back half a foot on the ground until it was 10,000 meters away, then slowly straightened his waist and returned to his fighting posture. In front of him, Tian Yu's shadow flashed and disappeared from Yu Yang's eyes. The enemy that his divine sense had locked onto had inexplicably disappeared. A thought flashed in Yu Yang's mind. He looked back in surprise and found Tian Yu was already standing behind him. The Supreme Elder of the Deity Palace, Tian Yu, stretched out his hand and pressed Yu Yang's neck against the ground. Just like a bull plowing the land, he forcefully plowed a deep pit on the steel-like ground of the Deity Palace, returning to Yu Yang's original position of attack. He let go. Standing in front of Yu Yang, he looked down at him expressionlessly. Because of the pain and humiliation, Yu Yang's heart burned with fury again. His combat strength increased crazily. His eyes were blood-red, and his divine power erupted like a volcano. Confine. Supreme Tian Yu waved his hand, and the power of laws once again deprived this almost crazy anger. The divine fire on Yu Yang's body kept disappearing. His blood-red eyes quickly faded, and he regained his clarity and rationality. The boiling power gradually quieted down under the ebbing tide of anger, and continued to lurk. "What do you want?" Yu Yang was very angry, but he couldn't get angry. "It's just a small test." Supreme Tianyu nodded calmly. "Dongfang is right. As long as I use the laws to suppress the power of your anger, you are destined to lose this fated battle. Titan Yu, do you know why I didn't attack your family or lover? It's very simple. I only need a complete loser. I don't want to see a normal and rational opponent go crazy because of the death of his family or lover. He loses control and explodes the dormant power that he originally couldn't use. Are you implying that we should commit suicide in front of him?" Shui Wuxia suddenly smiled. "I didn't understand before, but now I kind of understand what you mean. You aren't jealous of everything Yu Yang has, and plan to use a scheme to destroy everything he has before winning, right? If you understand the true meaning of sacrifice, you might make the most reasonable choice." Tian Yu didn't admit it, but he didn't deny it either. "We won't commit suicide and sacrifice ourselves to incite his anger." Princess Sisai refused flatly. "Why?" Tian Yu asked. "Aren't you willing to sacrifice everything for him?" "We aren't stupid. We won't sacrifice ourselves for the sake of our enemy." Shui Wuxia slowly shook her head. "Tian Yu, I understand what you're thinking. For this fated battle, you willingly or were forced to give up everything you once had, using it to cut off the shackles of the world. You did this, but your opponent didn't. So, you felt that you had to drag him to the same tragic level. You could have defeated him with a raise of your hand, but you didn't. You just set up a battle like the shackled shrine to restrict his anger. You purposely let us see all of this. Through various hints, you want us women to commit suicide for love, to sacrifice selflessly for love, to use death and blood to awaken our lovers, right? Although it's not completely correct, it's close." Tian Yu's expression was calm. "If all of you die in front of him, I think it might be of some help to this fated battle. In the future, when I defeat Titan Yu and ascend to the Holy Supreme, I can at least remember that I defeated an expert, not a rookie." "I'll do it!" Mo Long suddenly shouted heroically. "If blood and death are needed to awaken his anger, then let me, the boss, sacrifice myself." What Mo Long meant was that as a boss, he felt ashamed that he couldn't help his underlings in battle. Now, blood and death were needed to awaken his anger. As the boss, he naturally had to step forward. Reduced Commoner's Life and Chi Danzi looked at Mo Long in shock. "No way you're so enthusiastic about suicide? This isn't treating us to a meal, okay?" Yu Yang was also speechless. He advised Mo Long, "Don't add to the mess. Not to mention that you can't commit suicide, even if you hang yourself 10,000 times, I won't feel the slightest bit sad. I'll only feel that there's one less scourge in the world." Hearing this, Mo Long was furious. His lungs almost exploded on the spot. "You bastard, even if it's true, you don't have to say it out loud, right? Words like that are very hurtful. I wanted to do a good deed out of kindness, but you don't appreciate it at all. You're not giving me face at all." Yu Yang was completely speechless. "You mean I shouldn't stop you from dying?" Mo Long angrily snorted. "It's too late. Now I suddenly don't want to die for you. My good intentions were treated as a dog's lungs. You hurt me too much." Chapter 1387. On the battlefield of Tianping World, the Supreme Tian Yu of the temple was indeed extraordinary, beating the guy from another world with one move. The suppression of the 50,000-meter divine body. Divine weapons, divine power, domain, and law were all destroyed. Yu Yang could only struggle to hold on. He knew that Tian Yu was still probing and did not go all out. The Supreme Tian Yu of the temple had always suspected that there was a higher level of protection behind Yu Yang. He was not sure if this possibility would interfere and affect his fate duel, so he held back a little. If Tian Yu was completely sure that there was no possibility of any external interference in the fate duel, then it was time for him to go all out and unleash a fatal blow. Bang bang bang, fists fell like rain. Other than clenching his teeth and persevering in the battle, Yu Yang had no second choice. There was no way out in the fate duel. This was not the most troublesome thing. The most troublesome thing was that there was not much time left for him. Yu Yang had to defeat Tian Yu within a few hours. If he could not win quickly, Tong Tian Tower would suffer a great disaster because of Dong Feng's previous arrangement. The shock wave of destruction would destroy everything in Tong Tian Tower, and Tong Tian Tower would truly sink. The only hope now was Yu Yang's victory. Not only did he need to defeat Tian Yu as the weak, but he also had to control the time before the final countdown. There are only 5 hours left. Yu Yang understood how slim the chances of him turning the tables were, but he really did not have the right to give up. Tian Yu would not be so merciful to give him such a chance. There are 5 hours left. Hold on, we can do it. Another battlefield. Fatty Hai's head was swollen like a pig's head after being beaten by the enemy, and his eyelids could not open at all. He stood up dizzily, muttering to himself and staggering like a drunkard, but he still insisted on fighting, even if he could not even beat a finger of his opponent. Not only him, but Yi Kong and the Li brothers also climbed up from the pool of blood. Xue Tanlang's whole body was burning with flames, roasting his skin and flesh with a sizzling sound. That was an extremely special kind of divine fire, specialized in restraining ice attribute. Xue Tanlang could not even display 1% of his strength under the burning of the divine fire. Jejij, Prince of Tianluo's teeth were chattering. His body was covered with a layer of frost, and the air he breathed was even colder than the polar storm. Just like Xue Tanlang, he was also completely suppressed. Under the effects of the extreme cold divine power, Prince of Tianluo was only slightly better off than a bystander. We've lost. We can't win this battle no matter what. Supreme Jin, the master of the Valley of Tang, who was watching from the sidelines, really wanted to step forward and lend a hand. I didn't expect the Scarlet Warden, Tantai Tumi, to hide his strength so well. We always thought that he was just a quasi-divine level expert, who knew that his true strength was far beyond our imagination. The Demon Emperor sighed. Among the Light Clan, the Scarlet Warden, Tantai Tumia, had not taken any action. He kept a very low profile. The martial arts practitioners of the 3 sky-reaching clans had almost forgotten about him. Who would have thought that when Dong Feng passed away and the space-time labyrinth was completely destroyed, he would appear when everyone thought that everything was settled. Coincidentally, this was the beginning of the counterattack led by the Heavenly Chariot. Divine palaces, divine corridors, and various spiritual platforms replaced the original space-time labyrinth and were laid under the feet of the martial arts practitioners of the 3 sky-reaching clans. A divine power that far surpassed Dong Feng's chess world appeared on the battlefield according to the will of the Heavenly Chariot. It endlessly boosted the combat power of their side. The martial arts practitioners of the Heavenly Chariot, who had almost broken through the labyrinth, fell into traps of various attributes and restrictions. Of course, even without the will of the Divine Temple's supreme Heavenly Chariot and the suppression of his divine power, Tantai Tumia was the only one. He was enough to defeat the entire sky-reaching coalition army. Even if Supreme Jin and the others, who were forced to watch from the sidelines due to the restrictions of the law, were not necessarily a match for this powerful warden. What a terrifying man! The 2-headed dragon Guang and the others were so scared that they almost peed their pants. They had thought that Tantai Tumia's strength was similar to theirs, or even below theirs. In the past, whenever they had some conflicts in the upper heaven realm, he would often send people or write letters to negotiate with this warden. Sometimes his words were very rude. Really, why doesn't anyone punch me? The arrogant man felt itchy all over. He really wanted to go down and fight, but the law did not allow it. He could not participate in the battle. He could only watch the others fight. If someone punched him hard now, he might be grateful to that person for the rest of his life. The Scarlet Warden, Tantai-Tumie's only loyalty was to the heavenly chariot. His actions also carried out the will of the supreme heavenly chariot of the divine temple in this world. Previously, when he was planning in the east, he did not care about winning or losing. No matter how the situation on the battlefield changed, he just waited quietly. It was only when the heavenly chariot entered the balanced scale world that he stepped forward and led his subordinates to launch an all-out counterattack. In order to hide himself, he had always placed his position below the three hall masters. Everything to the outside world was carried out by the heavenly demons and heavenly ghosts under his command. This also gave the outside world a serious misconception that his strength was below the three hall masters. Who could imagine that this man who looked like the shadow of the heavenly chariot? Was he a super-powerful god-level expert? Tantai-Tumie, who was hiding in the back, was content with being ordinary for 10,000 years. It was only when the fated duel began that he truly exploded his power. "I'm ashamed." Supreme Jin shook his head and sighed. He looked at the Demon Emperor, who liked to disguise as a nine-headed demon. The Demon Emperor smiled bitterly. "I like to disguise because I'm afraid of trouble. I hate flattery and socializing. Most importantly, disguising allows me to attack my opponents better. But this old friend of mine doesn't. He's completely hiding for the sake of that heavenly chariot. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, I wouldn't believe that he's this powerful. My two old friends, if you're willing, you can come down and fight." Tantai-Tumie could actually hear the conversation between Supreme Jin and the Demon Emperor, even if they were separated by a world. "Is this also for the heavenly chariot?" Supreme Jin laughed. "Yes." Tantai-Tumie did not deny it. "You should know that we have no intention of starting a war with the Radiance Mountain. We have no intention of becoming enemies with the heavenly chariot. What does the supreme heavenly chariot of the divine temple have to do with us if he starts the fated duel? We're not his enemies." The Demon Emperor was a little confused. He could not understand why the powerful Scarlet Warden, Tantai-Tumie, would issue a challenge to him and Supreme Jin at such a tense moment. Lord Heavenly Chariot is participating in the Destiny Duel and his ascension is imminent. If Lord Heavenly Chariot leaves the Heaven Realm and heads to a higher realm, the Radiance Mountain will definitely attract the attention of many forces in the Heaven Realm. Don't hide your ambitions. Supreme Jin and Demon Emperor, you're bloodthirsty predators. You're not kind sheep. As the guardian of the Radiance Mountain, it's my duty as the warden to take action. I need to cleanse some of the opposing forces and silence the noise of grinding teeth. I need to make those spying in the dark withdraw their heads obediently. Tantai-Tumie's golden mask shone with divine light. There was no expression on his face. His voice rang out coldly, as old acquaintances, as powerful god-ranked experts who are renowned in the Heaven Realm, as well as the Master of the Valley of Tang, Supreme Jin and the Demon Emperor, the two of you are the best candidates to kill as a warning to the others. How heartless! Supreme Jin shook his head. So knowing each other is also a sin. I've finally understood this truth until today. Knowing each other is not a sin. However, you should feel honored to be the stepping stones of the Radiance Mountain. In Tantai-Tumie's heart, there was no such thing as friendship. He only had one emotion, loyalty. Loyalty to the heavenly chariot. Loyalty to his duty. He would do anything that was beneficial to his lord. He would do anything that was within the scope of his duty. The Demon Emperor suddenly stretched lazily. Even though I don't want to participate in the war, since the butcher's knife is placed on my neck, I'll fight. As the Demon Emperor, I can't be a cowardly tortoise and wait for death under the enemy's butcher's knife, can I? Supreme Jean fell silent for a moment before he sighed gently. When Dong Fang had come looking for me, I had told him that this matter was extremely troublesome. No matter the outcome, the Golden Crow clan would face the calamity of extinction. Indeed, my premonition at that time was correct. The only thing that I don't understand was that Dong Fang had comforted me by telling me that the Golden Crow clan would be revived because of my sacrifice. I can't see any possibility of revival at all. Then he must be lying to you. The Demon Emperor was amused when he heard this. Dong Fang lied to me? Why would he lie to a fool who knows that he's going to die but still insists on moving forward? Even though he's not a good friend, he probably wouldn't lie to me. Or perhaps he wouldn't be bothered to lie to me. The only thing that Supreme Jean could not understand was Dong Fang's reaction. The collapse of the chess world proved that the traitor of Tong Tian Tower, the wisest man of the temple, had died in battle. Why? How could a cunning fellow like Dong Fang die so easily? Even if he had died, shouldn't he have endured until the moment Tong Tian Tower fell before dying with no regrets? The Demon Emperor furrowed his brows. Just like Supreme Jean, he had thought of many things, but the situation did not allow them to continue thinking. With a wave of his hand, Tantai Tu Mia, who had defeated Fatty Hai and the other Tong Tian Tower warriors once again, walked towards them. The distance between worlds was meaningless to a divine rancor like him. It was as if he had passed through a transparent door. Tantai Tu Mia walked over easily. He arrived in front of Supreme Jean and the others. The light knights and light warriors under him had already tied up the powerless Fatty Hai, Yi Kong and the others. Other than them, there were also countless Tong Tian Tower warriors who had fallen to the ground. Tantai Tu Mia waved his hand lightly and issued an order: follow the original plan. Bring these weak worms to the Libra world. The future Holy Supreme needs some sacrifices as a form of display of authority in the heaven realm. All of you move immediately and pass through the ancient passage. I, the Warden, will follow soon. Yes. The light warriors escorted Fatty Hai, Yi Kong and the others up the stairs between the divine palaces. They followed the guidance of the heavenly chariot will and surged forward like a surging tide. On account of our acquaintance, I, the Warden, will allow you to commit suicide. Other than Supreme Jean and the Demon Emperor, Tantai Tu Mia did not look at anyone else. Perhaps in his eyes, even divine-level rankers like Supreme Jean and the Demon Emperor were just slightly bigger worms. Before Supreme Jean and the Demon Emperor could make a move, Tantai Tu Mia suddenly reached out and grabbed at the sky. The void shattered and 4 shadows fell into his giant palm. They were the shadows that had been watching the battle from the other world and were preparing to escape quietly. They were volcano, dark cloud, wilderness and light. Although the other shadows did not fall into his palm, they could not help but roll on the ground due to the impact of the divine power. The steadiest, Songhai, quickly supported Yin Ping and Lu Yin with his divine power. On the other side, Lei Ming was so scared that his body was trembling slightly. They were separated by a world. This Tantai Tumi could easily capture 4 of his companions with a casual attack. What kind of divine power and realm was this? Supreme Jean and the Demon Emperor were also shocked and could not calm down for a long time. The Scarlet Warden's strength was 100 times or even 1,000 times stronger than they had imagined. If they were to fight him head-on, there was no way they could resist him. What should they do now? Fight to the death in vain, or abandon all their companions and escape with all their might? Even if they did that, was there any possibility of escaping? Everyone present was in despair. The 2-headed dragon, Guong and the others were even more disheartened. They closed their eyes and waited for death. To them, struggling was a luxury. It was a completely meaningless thing. What are you doing here? At this tense moment, a voice that was as clear as spring water and as sweet as a bell rang out. Everyone turned to look and saw a girl dressed in emerald green. She was mischievously and proudly skipping towards them from afar. She smiled before saying anything and looked especially friendly. Do you know how to get to the Libra world? I accidentally got lost just now. Chapter 1388. Lost? Carelessly? Everyone's attention was focused on the emerald-dressed lady. No one could understand what kind of lady she was to say such words in such a tense moment. Did she even understand that the battle was so intense that blood flowed like a river and corpses littered the ground? I think I remember her. Tantai Tumia frowned. He felt that this emerald-dressed lady was very familiar, as if he had seen her somewhere before. You're from the Eastern clan, right? As the king of the demon clan, the demon emperor worshipped and longed to get close to the Eastern clan's immortals. According to ancient legends, the ancestors of the demon clan were originally immortal beasts. Because they committed certain sins, they were chased out of the Eastern world and wandered to the heaven realm. Through their powerful strength, they forced the natives to accept their arrival. They settled in the heaven realm or the heaven realm according to their strength and tribe. They even left their footprints in the lower realm, such as the Tong Tian Tower. This was the origin of the various clans of the demon clan. In other words, the current demon clan was actually the descendants of the exiled immortal beast. However, due to intermarriage or other depravity, their bloodline gradually thinned. Each generation was weaker than the previous, and they no longer had the power of their ancestors. In the end, they were reduced to the demon clan. Just like the dragon clan and the demon clan in the Tong Tian Tower, the demon clan in the heaven realm and the heaven realm yearned to return, to fulfill the will of their ancestors, for the innate will to return to the demon clan. For the ancient summoning in their bloodline, like a volcano, the longer it stayed hidden, the more powerful it would erupt, awakening one's original self, cleansing the sins of their ancestors, obtaining the approval of the immortal clan and returning to the Eastern world. This was the nature and instinct of every demon clan. No matter how beautiful the heaven realm was, no matter how much power and honor the demon clan enjoyed, they could not hide the emptiness in their hearts, because the heaven realm did not belong to the demon clan. Here, the demon clan was more like a passerby who had no choice but to stay here. Please accept the highest respect from the Tang Valley's three-legged golden crow tribe. Supreme Jean rushed forward and sincerely bowed to the emerald-dressed lady. The three-legged golden crow tribe was a very famous Dongfang tribe in the heaven realm. Because it had only been less than 20,000 years since they came to the heaven realm, the living habits of the golden crow tribe had not changed at all. The Valley of Tang rarely intermarried with the outside world. This kind of self-isolation that did not care about worldly affairs and stood aloof from worldly affairs was mainly to maintain the purity of their bloodline. Supreme Jean was more eager to return to the Eastern world than the demon god. After all, the Golden Crow clan had more hope. Among some of the most seniors, there were complicated relationships and bloodlines that could not be told to outsiders. Seeing the arrival of the immortal tribe, Supreme Jean trembled with excitement. Even though it was only a young immortal Qilin, if he could befriend it, perhaps the future of the three-legged Golden Crow tribe might change one day. You are the three-legged Golden Crow? The woman in emerald green robes was the Qilin girl, Bing Yin. She tilted her little head and glanced at Supreme Jean before shaking her head. It seems that your people have committed a great sin. The power of your bloodline has been sealed very badly. Our ancestors have been killing too much, and it has been a disaster to this day. Of course, Supreme Jean knew the reason why the Golden Crow tribe was banished. It's okay if I've done something wrong. It's fine as long as I correct it. I often do wrong things and my mother has always forgiven me. The Qilin girl, Bing Yin, waved her hand calmly and comforted the tearful Supreme Jean. Her words made everyone blush with shame. What kind of mistake could a muddle-headed worm like you make? Of course, my mother forgave you. How could the three-legged Golden Crow tribe be the same? Of course, being banished from the country and deprived of the qualification to be an immortal beast was already considered a relatively light punishment. If it was strictly enforced, the entire tribe might be exterminated. Yes. However, what could Supreme Jean say now? He could only nod. You don't have to bow. I can see it. The Qilin girl, Bing-Yin, gestured to the demon god tribe and the others that there was no need to be so courteous. She smiled and said, I understand your feelings very well. Let's not talk about you guys. I've been away from home for a while, and I miss my mother very much. I miss everything at home. How about this? I'm going to help a big bad guy fight now. However, I'm not very good at fighting. Yes. Supreme Jean and the demon god tribe were overjoyed when they heard this. You're not good at fighting, but we are. It was better to have a chance to serve them than anything else, not to mention that they needed to be recruited for this battle. Even if it had nothing to do with their own tribe, they would desperately help to fight for such an opportunity. After listening, the Qilin girl Bing-Yin made a condition. If this battle is won, I'll tell my mother. Whether it can be done depends on your luck. I can't guarantee it. I can think of a way to unlock part of the bloodline seal in your bodies. Of course, it's more suitable to find that big bad guy to do it. Yes. Sacrifice my life and brain to the ground until my death. Both Supreme Jean and the demon god tribe were so moved that they were about to cry. If they could make a contribution, there would be a chance. Even if the old man was guilty and could never go back, the newly born juniors should have a chance to return to the Eastern world, right? What was the purpose of working hard for so many years? It was all for the future of those little bastards. Tantai Tumi secretly cursed. With the arrival of this immortal Qilin, the opponent's scattered camp immediately became an iron plate. In order to lead the tribe back, Supreme Jean and the demon god tribe would fight to the death. He understood it very well. Return. What it meant to the Eastern Lost tribe. Even if all of them had to die in battle, these crazy fellows would still charge forward wave after wave. Perhaps killing an immortal beast is a great sin and the most dangerous action in the world. However, I have no other choice. Tantai Tumi was glad that the immortal Qilin in front of him was only a baby and had no guards. If it was an adult, everything would be over. How dare you? Supreme Jean stepped forward. He stood tall and proud like a mountain. His body burned with the unique divine sun fire of the three-legged golden crow tribe. Scram! Tantai Tumi raised his giant palm and sent Supreme Jean flying 100,000 meters away. Me too. The demon god tribe was already standing in front of Tantai Tumi. His body was also burning with divine fire, but it was not the scorching divine sun fire. Instead, it was a Yin demon fire that could devour everything. The demon fire was unpredictable. Once it was ignited, everyone felt as if they had fallen into an ice cellar. Cold air invaded their bodies and turned every drop of water into ice. The most terrifying thing was that the demon fire could devour the surrounding god power. Any god power that entered the demon fire would be silently digested and fused with it. Tantai Tumi swung his fist and forcefully punched through the demon fire. His fist landed heavily on the demon god tribe's chest. Several of the demon god tribe's sternum broke. He could not help but spit out blood. It was like a waterfall. However, the demon god tribe did not move. His body was like a mountain. Other than pain, his bloodshot eyes were also filled with determination and confidence. Are you trying to defeat me? You'll need at least 1,000 punches. Before that, I won't fall and I won't let you pass. The demon god tribe's attitude was that Tantai Tumi would not be able to attack the Qilin girl behind him unless he stepped over his dead body. That's right. Don't even think about it before you kill us. Supreme Jean returned. A large piece of his sternum was also broken, but he was just as determined. Then I'll kill the two of you first. Tantai Tumi scoffed heartlessly. He was a man who cared about results and not the process. As long as he could kill the enemy. No matter what. 1,000 punches, 10,000 punches. As long as the result was achieved, it did not matter. Did he think that he could stop his actions with his attitude and sacrifice? What a joke! In this world, only strength was the guarantee of everything. In this world where strength was respected, if one did not have enough strength, no matter how good one's aspirations and wishes were, they would all be empty talk and a joke. All of you, stop right now! The arrogant man roared. His face was flushed with agitation, and his body was trembling like a sick man with a pendulum. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, he took a step forward and threw himself at the feet of the Qilin girl Bing-yin. He knelt on one knee and made a pleading gesture with both hands. Please, I've had enough of this damn life. I don't fight back when I'm hit or scolded. I love life and be kind to others. These are not in my character at all. I was born arrogant and unruly. If I see something I don't like, I'll just slap it to death. Hurry up and banish me. I don't want to be an immortal beast that is restrained and suppressed. I want to be a demon beast that does whatever I want and does all kinds of evil. The eyes of the demon god tribe and Supreme Jin all widened as if they had seen the craziest madman in the world. You're Cheongqi? The Qilin girl Bing-yin finally recognized the arrogant man. Please hurry up and banish me. I can't hold it anymore. This battle has been going on for a long time, and I can only watch. Can you let me have some fun? I don't want to be an immortal beast anymore. I want to be myself. I can fight and scold whenever I want. My life is in my own hands. I can do whatever I want in the world. The arrogant man Cheongqi looked very serious. Oh, a child who is still in the rebellious stage is really unreasonable. When Qilin girl Bing-yin said this, she forgot that she was just a big loli. Help me, I really want to fight. The arrogant man Cheongqi was very anxious. I can help you, but I don't seem to know you very well. Bing-yin shook her head. I'm going crazy. The arrogant man Cheongqi was very mad. The Scarlet Warden Tantai Tumia would not sit idly by and watch this happen. Although he did not know what would happen after the immortal beast was banished, the sense of danger in his heart still prompted him to act immediately. His divine power burst out like a monstrous tide. With the power to topple the mountains and overturn the seas, his divine body rushed towards the Qilin girl Bing-yin. As long as he killed the only immortal Qilin who could change the battlefield, then everything would be settled. Supreme Jin and the demon god were even faster than him. They stood tall like mountains and blocked his path at the first moment. Naturally, they could not sit idly by and watch Tantai Tumia act. Regardless of whether the Scarlet Warden's attack would hurt the target they were protecting, it was absolutely unforgivable. Even if they were to die here, they could not let him hurt the target, not even a single hair. Supreme Jin completely gave up on attacking and used all his divine power to block Tantai Tumia's attack. Monster God used his unique divine power to assist Supreme Jin. They never cooperated. However, they were as one. Two completely different divine powers merged unbelievably. Compared to a single divine power, it was at least 10 times stronger. That was how they managed to block Tantai Tumia's heavy attack. What? Tantai Tumia was in disbelief. Supreme Jin and Monster God worked together to block his all-out attack? We did it. Supreme Jin and Monster God were so excited that their blood was boiling. They fought with their lives on the line. Without any distractions, they worked together to fight against the enemy. Who would have thought that it would be a great success? It was far beyond their expectations. If this was really possible, then they would have more confidence in protecting the target. Supreme Jin and Monster God looked at each other and nodded. Their bodies formed a triangular formation as they stood in front of Qilin girl Bing-yin. If they wanted to attack her, they would have to step over their corpses. This was what they were protecting. For their clansmen. For their return. For the call of their ancestors, they could give up this life. As long as they made contributions in this battle for the birth of the Holy Supreme, then it would no longer be an unreachable dream for their clansmen to return to the Eastern clan. Come on. Supreme Jin's eyes were filled with fanaticism. Let me use my blood to wash away the sins of the past. I understand now. The demon Larch let out a smile. He recalled his father's figure that was far away. He finally understood. Generations after generations, they had sacrificed wave after wave. What was the value of this kind of sacrifice? Sacrifice, it turned out, was the greatest protection and also the best release. It was even the beginning of another kind of life form. Selflessly sacrificing oneself for others, for the clansmen, for the future generations. This kind of sacrifice or protection was the true meaning of life passed down from generation to generation. All of you, go to hell. Tantai Tumi was furious. His divine power covered the sky and the earth. His fists turned into thousands of suns, shining brightly in the sky. Bang 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 bang. Many deep fist marks appeared on the bodies of Supreme Jin and Monster God. Blood gushed out of their mouths and noses like a waterfall. Their divine power was exhausted like a lonely lamp. The demon fire that sustained their lives was faintly discernible and almost extinguished. However, their bodies still stood proudly on the spot, firmly standing in front of Qilin Girl Bing-yin, motionless. The nine-headed snake, nine-headed worm, and the other demons rushed forward in an attempt to help Monster God. However, Tantai Tumi casually pointed with his fingers. His divine power was like a hammer striking them down one by one. They were badly injured and could not move. Do you really think you can stop this warden's path? Tantai Tumi sneered. He looked ruthlessly at the bruised and bloodied Supreme Jin and Monster God. How many more punches can you take? Right now, even if a baby were to wave his fist, he could still easily knock you down. Limit. Supreme Jin and Monster God also understood that the attack just now was the limit of their bodies. However, even if they were to die, they would not allow the enemy to pass before they completely collapsed. Absolutely not. His fists were like the sun. They reappeared in the sky. The earth-shattering divine power drowned Supreme Jin and Monster God. Tantai Tumi walked over step by step until he was in front of Qilin Girl Bing-yin. Supreme Jin and Monster God crawled up from the ground in pain. They rushed over desperately, but Scarlet Warden Tantai Tumi disdainfully kicked them to the left and right. You overestimate yourselves. Now who else? Tantai Tumi arrogantly looked down at Qilin Girl Bing-yin in front of him. As for the angry and unruly man in front of him, he was undoubtedly as weak as a bug in his eyes. He simply ignored him. The unruly Cheong-chi was so angry that he almost went crazy. However, he had no choice. Even if he did not have the law, he was no match for Tantai Tumi, the Scarlet Warden. Ah! Supreme Jin desperately tried to prop up his heavy body and continue fighting. Tantai Tumi casually pressed down with his divine power like a mountain. On the other side, Monster God tried his best to resist, but his arms and body were still sinking into the ground bit by bit. Everywhere, many demons and gods were scattered on the ground. There were no more experts to resist. Go to hell. The heaven realm is not a place where you should be. This place belongs to us. Tantai Tumi raised his giant hand high, ready to crush Qilin Girl in front of him into powder in the next second. Killing immortal beasts, especially super high-level immortal beasts, was undoubtedly the craziest move. Doing so could lead to a war between the two realms. However, Tantai Tumi did not hesitate. As long as it was an obstacle on Tian Yu's path to the Divine Supreme, no matter who it was, no matter where it came from, no matter what impact it would have, he would get rid of it. To Tantai Tumi, even if the entire Heaven Realm and Heaven Realm were destroyed tomorrow, as long as he could help Tian Yu reach the top today, there was nothing to regret. Die! Tantai Tumi's giant hand closed like a hammer and smashed down. You're so fierce, I'm not going to fight you. Cheelin girl Bing Een saw this and did not forget to stick out her pink tongue cutely. The emerald green figure flashed and then disappeared without a trace in Tantai Tumi's earth-shattering divine power shock wave. Tantai Tumi was shocked. Disappeared? How was this possible? He had locked onto her with his divine sense. How could she escape under his watch? Moreover, what was even more unbelievable was that even Cheong-chi, who tried to block Tantai Tumi with his arm but could not even block one finger, disappeared. When he looked back again, he suddenly found that the emerald green figure inconceivably appeared on a platform not far away. Her little hand was blooming with thousands of rays of light, soft and gentle, like an upside-down rainbow. In this wonderful rainbow light, Emperor Jin and the Demon Emperor, who were seriously injured and fell to the ground, the nine-headed demon tribe, the double-headed dragon Guong and other heavenly dragons, Songhai, Laming, Yinping, Levian and other heavenly realm shadow gods, as well as Cheong-chi, all of them quickly shrank in the brilliance. No matter how tall or short their original bodies were, they all became as thin as beans. Flying along the rainbow light, all of them slipped into the slender hands of Cheelin girl Bing Een. Clenching her small fists and lowering her head, Cheelin girl Bing Een, who was lost and confused, boldly moved forward. Regardless of the consequences, she rushed forward and easily broke through the restriction of the supreme law of the divine palace. Under the pressure of the Scarlet Warden Tantai Tumi's divine power, she broke through the space barrier without any delay, and the emerald green figure instantly disappeared in the vast ancient passage. Faintly, there were a few words that made people not know whether to laugh or cry. Where is this? It seems to be a mistake again, but it doesn't matter. We will find the place. Go on, go on. Tantai Tumi was petrified. He could not imagine this incredible change at all. For the first time in his life, he felt that power was not omnipotent. In the Tian Ping world, the battle between Yu Yang and Tian Yu continued. Now the supreme Tian Yu of the Divine Palace was full of confidence, especially when the warriors of the Divine Palace escorted Yi Kong, Fatty Hai and other powerhouses of the Tong Tian Tower. There was a mysterious smile on his lips. Don't worry about us, we have enough. It's worth it to be able to come here and fight until here in this life. Yi Kong, who was bruised and exhausted, had no strength to struggle, but his will was still as hard as steel, and he would rather die than surrender. If the enemy wanted to use him to threaten Yu Yang, he would never agree. For the desperate wanderer who almost starved to death on the first floor of the Tong Tian Tower, his life was exciting enough to fight until now. He had no regrets in life. Fatty Hai's face, which had been deformed from the beating, was smiling. Although his smile was uglier than crying, he was still smiling, just like a fool. Xue Tan Lang and Prince of Tian Luo did not say a word, as if they were not in a slaughterhouse that was about to be torn to shreds, but in a quiet and secluded manner. They even looked at the divine temple's maze formation laid by the deity palace's supreme elder Tian Yu with interest, as if they were beautiful green trees and red flowers. Seeing that all the warriors of the Tong Tian Tower had been captured, Xue Wuxia and Princess Sisai looked at each other and nodded solemnly. Yes, yes. Now it was time for the battle to begin. The corridor formed by the Wall of Sighs extended all the way to the edge of the Dead Sea. Sickly Beauty was the first to fly forward. With every step she took, the light of the Wall of Sighs grew brighter, extending by 1 meter. Yu Yu followed closely behind her. She brought the tidal sea which closer to the Dead Sea. When she set foot on the edge of the Dead Sea, the tide of the Dead Sea roared like a startled beast, sweeping up 1,000-meter-tall waves. Make way, this is the will of the Ocean Empress. As the Empress of the Seas, Hai Lan angrily raised her hands and forcefully parted them. The gigantic waves of the Dead Sea that covered the sky and covered the earth unstoppably opened up a wide path for her. Rumble! The Dead Sea roared. Huge waves the size of small mountains rolled up and down, as if they were about to pounce on the girls who dared to provoke it and swallow them whole. However, no matter how angry it was, it could not stop them from moving forward. A nomological power that far exceeded its intelligence was extending from the wall of sighs, turning into a long corridor that led straight into the Dead Sea. Billions of cursed spirits of the Dead Sea were howling, spinning, and pouring out from the middle passage of the Dead Sea. They let out the most terrifying cries and curses in the world as they stretched out their arms, ready to pass through the sealed corridor of the wall of sighs and embrace the enemies with death. Lu Yi walked down from the perforate deer. She reached out with both hands. She stuck close to the wall of sighs. In the blink of an eye, the light on the wall of sighs increased by thousands of times, and a kind of inviolable and inviolable rule of cleansing was added to it. This kind of pure power was brighter and purer than holy power. The cursed spirits of the Dead Sea screamed in fear and scattered in all directions. Some of the dead spirits that could not escape in time crashed into the wall of sighs and instantly let out horrifying screams. Under the rule of cleansing, their illusory and formless bodies dissipated like steam in agony. Everything they had before and after they died turned into nothingness, returned to chaos. The battle has just begun. Sisters, charge. Princess Sisai raised the Hell-Tiger Divine sword and pointed it at the depths of the Dead Sea. Charge, let's fight together. Victory! Drunken Cat and the Southern Demon King were the fastest to charge. Nyonyo Panda Girl looked back at Yu Yang, who was being beaten by Tianyu, worriedly. She gritted her teeth, clenched her fists, and firmly followed her mother's footsteps. Yi Kong and Fatty Hai, on the other hand, were confused. What kind of trouble was this? The battle had just begun? What did that mean? Could it be that the battle was going to continue? Chapter 1389. Not bad, I like this choice. Tianyu did not care about Shui Wuxia and the others' choice of battle at all, nor did he care about their attack on the Dead Sea. For him, no matter what an ant-like enemy did, it was not worth mentioning. Just like Dong Feng, the man who was known as the Central Shrine's #1 think tank, who planned everything meticulously. He was indeed smarter than ordinary people, but so what? In the face of an extremely powerful Supreme Master, what was the use of having high intelligence? Could designing, setting up, and scheming allow an ant to defeat a god? Strength was the real guarantee, the prerequisite of everything. This was also the only truth in the heaven realm, and this truth was in his hands. Besides, Tianyu never thought that anyone in the world could surpass him in wisdom. Not even Dong Feng. If he was a little more open-minded in terms of cultivation, how could Dong Feng be the Central Shrine's #1 wisdom? Let them go. Then, you can play with them and kill them as much as you want. Tianyu signaled his temple warriors to let go of Yi Kong, Fatty Hai, and the others. With a flick of his finger, Yi Kong, Fatty Hai, and the other warriors of the Three Tong Tian clan were all thrown into the sky. Each of them turned into a meteor and fell into different shrines. In those shrines, Yi Kong, Fatty Hai, and the others would suffer the heaviest suppression and the most painful torment. Their strength would be reduced to the weakest. Every second, they were all panting in pain and despair. As for the temple warriors under the command of Tianyu, they would receive the greatest enhancement and amplification. Ahem, Supreme Master, please allow us to die for you. I guarantee that our loyalty will be comparable to the eternal Great Light Mountain. Tian Tu, Shin Tu, Tu Shi, Tu Wan, as well as the surviving Heaven Realm great leaders who followed the temple warriors saw the situation and quietly exchanged looks. They all knelt at the feet of Tianyu, the supreme of the temple, and kissed the ground beside his feet, begging for a chance to serve this future supreme divine lord. Go, do what you like to do. I believe in your choices. I can guarantee that your efforts will be rewarded greatly. Tianyu didn't even glance at them out of the corner of his eyes. However, he did not reject the loyalty of these ants. He only cared about one person, and that was Yu Yang, the other candidate for the fated battle. Tianyu carelessly yawned and magnanimously said to Yu Yang, "You clan's third young master, if you still have any tricks up your sleeves, just use them. Otherwise, this duel will be too boring." Yu Yang couldn't be bothered to retort. He hurriedly gathered his divine power and strengthened the martial practitioners of the three sky-reaching clans who were struggling in pain in the various sacred halls. Otherwise, Yi Kong, Fatty Hai and the others wouldn't even be able to survive for a minute. Tianyu watched quietly and did not intervene with Yu Yang. His expression was a little strange, as if he would regret it for the rest of his life if he did not force Yu Yang to the end. "You must have a trump card, but why aren't you using it?" Tianyu believed in his intuition. "Don't worry, we'll use it when the time comes." Yu Yang expressed that now was not the time. "Then let's continue." Tianyu decided to increase the pressure. He suspected that there was a protector standing behind this kid, and this protector would only intervene at the very last moment. Perhaps this guardian was not something this brat could control, or perhaps it was just protecting his life and not interfering with his daily life. Of course, there was another possibility. Although there was a guardian, it could not interfere with this fated battle. If it was the latter, then Tianyu felt that he just had to enjoy the duel before advancing to the divine supreme martial artist. No, this was not a duel at all. It was a brutal killing. Although Titan Yu was the candidate for the divine fate duel, he was no match for him at all. He could not even compare to one of his fingers. "Struggling people, let me give you a present." Tianyu raised his hands high up and divine light shone brightly. Billions of divine lights flickered in the balanced world like fireworks. An extremely special and wondrous law covered the entire Libra world like a net. No matter where it was in the world, everything was within the net. It was like a fishing net. Shui Wuxia, Princess Sisai and the others who attacked the Dead Sea were instantly caught by the law of the heavenly net, along with the crystal corridor formed by the sighing wall. On the net, there were also Yi Kong, Fatty Hai, Shui Tan Lang and the other warriors of the Tong Tian clan. More spider monsters surged out of the temples in the balanced world at the same time. They were frantically pouncing on the enemies restricted by the law of the heavenly net. So many spiders! Shui Wuxia's face was filled with disgust. She waved her lily-white hands, and a kind of ice and snow divine power, born in ancient times and supported by supreme wisdom, engulfed the entire balanced world. In an instant, the monsters that surged out of the temples froze, and then turned into frozen zombies. Tianyu was slightly stunned. Shui Wuxia held the divine pearl of fate in her right hand, which represented wisdom and guidance. She seemed to throw a punch casually, and the law of the heavenly net around her disappeared instantly. The law of heaven and earth returned to normal. "Let's gather together." The illusion moon goddess and Princess Sisai hurried over to respond. They broke the law of the heavenly net and protected Inan, Yu Bing and the others in the center. "What about you? Aren't you going to do anything?" Tianyu turned to look at Yu Yang. As soon as he said this, the cold air in the balance scale world dissipated. Countless spider beasts rushed out of the temple. Like a flood bursting through a dam, they covered the sky and covered the earth as they tried to swallow the warriors of Tong Tian Tower. Yu Yang did not do anything. He just looked at the direction of the ancient god gate quietly. Tianyu was a little puzzled. Could it be that the Yu clan's third young master had reinforcements? But even if there were reinforcements, they couldn't enter through the ancient god gate, right? Now that the fate showdown had begun, no one could enter through the ancient god gate. Just as Tianyu was feeling suspicious, the ancient god gate suddenly made a dong sound, as if someone had put their head on it. Then, he heard a painful groan. Were there really reinforcements? Before he could react, he heard another dong sound. This time, it was even louder. Who was it that would use their head to hit the ancient god gate? Tianyu looked at Yu Yang in surprise, only to see that the Yu clan's third young master was also sweating profusely. Did I open it the wrong way? A very stupid and cute voice rang out. Dong! This time, even Tianyu, who was the enemy, was speechless. Grandpa Divine Gate, please let me in. I have something urgent to do. Once the cute girl started to act cute, she did not care about time, place or person. The ancient God Gate could also be opened by acting cute? Yu Yang did not even have the energy to retort. However, what made him incredulous was that the ancient God Gate really opened a small space, allowing the cute girl outside to turn into a green light and enter. As soon as she came in, she did not look at anyone and threw herself into Sickly Beauty's arms, crying pitifully, Sister Wuhan, my head hurts so much that it's like a bun, and it's so hard to find here, woo-woo. Sickly Beauty's heart ached so much that she hurriedly hugged her and comforted her gently. Don't cry, you did a good job. Everyone knows that you worked hard. Bing-in, be good, don't cry. Yu Yang's face was full of sweat. Tianyu looked for a long time and found that it was just an immortal beast seedling. It looked like a bean sprout, and its strength was so weak that it made people speechless. As a result, the big stone in his heart that was originally hanging in the air finally fell down. This is your trump card? Tianyu now felt sad for Yu Yang. It was better not to show such a trump card, and even if it was shown, it would be worse than not showing it. At least from the enemy's point of view, there was no more reassuring than this trump card. Tianyu glanced at Qilin Girl Bing-in again and again, and his heart finally confirmed that if Yu Clan's third young master had no other tricks, then he was the last and only winner of this fate duel. What are you doing here? Yu Yang felt that this Qilin girl's only help here was to make trouble. I'm here to help. Qilin Girl Bing-in raised her small fist. Okay. Yu Yang pointed to the distance. Stay there obediently. If you can hold back and not talk, it will help a lot. Good intentions are not rewarded. Qilin Girl Bing-in snorted. Fortunately, she was open-minded. Otherwise, she would not forgive this guy's unreasonable words. This was clearly looking down on her. If she didn't show him her power, he wouldn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Thousands of thoughts flashed through the Qilin girl's mind. She just wanted to show Yu Yang a lesson, and she had long forgotten about other things. Shui Wuxiao looked at her small fist clenched tightly and asked curiously, What are you holding? Only then did Bing-in wake up with a cry. She quickly let go. There was a flash of colorful light, and a large group of strong people returned to their original bodies in front of everyone's eyes. However, because they had shrunk their immortal power for too long, they could not help but groan in pain. Fortunately, each of them was a super strong person. If they were ordinary humans, they would have died long ago. Qiongqi recovered the fastest. He jumped up immediately and rushed to the demon dragon boss who was lying on the ground waiting for death. Ah, boss, how did you become like this? If you were hit by a divine hammer, you would also lie on the ground pretending to be a dead dog like me. The demon dragon couldn't help but roll his eyes. You are doing this on purpose, aren't you? Don't mention that pot of water? Who did it? I will avenge you. Qiongqi turned around from the side of the demon dragon boss and instantly rushed to the feet of Yu Yang. It's not impossible to hug someone's thigh, but my thigh is only for beauties to hug. Yu Yang had always been a person who valued women more than men. Please, banish me. There was a reason for Qiongqi to hug someone's thigh. He knew that the only person who had the ability to do so was Yu Yang. Although he was a fool, but he was definitely not a retard. Yu Yang's tone was very similar to the Qilin girl Bing-in. It's good, but I am not very familiar with you. Banishing immortal beasts might sound cool, but under normal circumstances, no one with normal intelligence would do such a thing. The reason was that behind every immortal beast was a family or a sect. Doing such a thing was equivalent to offending the people of a large family. What right do you have to banish my son to the lower realms? If you could scold him loudly, your son is in big trouble, I am doing this for his own good, maybe he can endure it. But if you banish him without any trouble, this kind of enthusiasm was even more infuriating than, I see that your wife is anxious because she is not pregnant, so I helped you, no need to thank me, please call me Lei Feng. Yu Yang had normal intelligence, and he was never a pain in the ass. So, Cheongqi, this fool, better scram as far as possible. It was impossible to banish Cheongqi, but Yu Yang would not hesitate to remove some of the seals on Supreme Jin and Fei Emperor. Now was the time when he urgently needed manpower, not to mention reinforcements like Supreme Jin and Fei Emperor. He could not even waste a piece of toilet paper. Please, if you don't banish me, just seal me. As a fool, Cheongqi had another idea. As an immortal beast, there was the rule of, if people don't offend me, I won't offend them. If others did not attack maliciously, they would not be able to use their full strength to fight. This rule was a good thing for other immortal beasts. To Cheongqi, who always wanted to fight, it was a great misfortune. So, he would rather not be an immortal beast and willingly degenerate to live as he pleased. Otherwise, how could the Heaven Realm's #1 murderer, the demon dragon, become an immortal beast's idol? If banishing him didn't work, then he would seal him. It would be best if he could seal his status as an immortal beast for 1,000,000 years, and then recover it after he was done playing with it. Even if he couldn't recover it in the end, that was fine too. This was Cheongqi's plan. How much of a pain in the ass do you have to be? Yu Yang was speechless. Since his son was willing to degenerate and take out his lowly skin for him to beat up, it would be inexcusable if he did not make a move. This seal could be recovered, but it was different from banishing him. When the time comes, a group of old ghosts would surround him and ask him to hand over his son. He could just kick this guy out and barely make do with it. Please, I want to fight even in my dreams. Cheongqi's greatest desire in his life was to fight to his heart's content, no, to fight 10,000 times. I'll say this first, this is your request. Yu Yang's face was filled with helplessness. Yes, I strongly requested it. Cheongqi was extremely cooperative. In the future, if your family comes looking for me to settle scores, you have to explain clearly that it has nothing to do with me. Yu Yang first cast aside this responsibility. Learning from Lei Feng, doing good deeds doesn't leave his name, but doing bad deeds also doesn't leave his name. I guarantee that no one will come looking for me. My family has never cared about me. Cheongqi's comical behavior had probably made his family very sad. Since you are so serious and sincere in your request. Yu Yang felt that since it was like this, then he had to help Cheongqi and his family solve the problem of them being reincarnated into the wrong body. Furthermore, there was still room for him to recover from the seal. It was different from being completely banished. When this comical child had played enough and calmed down, then it wouldn't be too late to unseal him. As for now, he would just let him be a qualified fighter. Indifferently, Tian Yu looked on with disdain, as if he was watching a farce. He didn't care what Yu Yang did. Anyway, as long as he had the strongest power, no matter what the enemy did, it wouldn't be worth laughing at. Furthermore, the fate duel had to be like this for it to be a little more exciting, right? Struggle hard. I have high hopes for you, Yu Clan's third young master. Supreme Elder of the Deity Temple, Scarlet Warden Tantai Tu Mia has come to report. Before Yu Yang could complete the sealing ceremony, new enemy reinforcements arrived at the ancient passage. Furthermore, it was the extremely powerful Tantai Tu Mia. Tian Yu looked at Tantai Tu Mia, who was kneeling on the ground. He didn't say anything and only nodded slightly. His eyes looked towards the deepest part of the ancient passage. There was also a shadow. It was moving at high speed, flying over. Chapter 1390. Hurry up and seal it or it will be too late. Cheongqi was the most anxious. As soon as Tantai Tumi arrived, he rushed to Yu Yang and shouted at the top of his lungs, reminding Yu Yang to stop watching the show. The enemy's reinforcements were still coming. If he did not activate the sealing ritual, he would not even know how he would die. Not only him, Supreme Jin and the demon Tharch were also very anxious. However, they did not dare to rush him. They could only be anxious. Yu Yang took a deep look at the shadow at the ancient passage and pressed his hand on the top of Qiongqi's head. In the name of the future Holy Supreme, supreme divine power flowed within Qiongqi's body, which was completely defenseless. Finally, he formulated a sealing law that would cut off all restraints and fate. Roar, 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 Qiongqi screamed in extreme pain. Blood flowed out of his 7 orifices. Once the sealing law was successfully formulated, he would completely change from an immortal beast to a fallen demonic beast. The law of peace was sealed and his fate changed. The power that was originally hidden in his body erupted like a volcano, rising from the top of his head. In the sky, an unknown mournful music was faintly heard from the space-time world outside the sky. The law of peace was sealed. The pure immortal beast power was transformed into a super-violent demonic beast power. The entire balance scale was dyed red by this terrifying murderous demonic power. The entire sky was like blood. The ground was like a prison. With Qiongqi's feet as the center, billions of sabers, spears, swords, horns, fangs, claws, iron hooves, golden eyes, and silver scales formed from the ground, transforming into Qiongqi's unique demonic power law. When there was no restraint, the power was automatically released. As its master, Qiongqi could not believe that there was such a powerful power stored in his body. Ah! Qiongqi leaped up and unleashed his vast demonic power. The entire balance scale was actually trembling under his will. However, he inexplicably shed tears of blood. Blood dripped onto the ground. It turned into a burning pool of blood. The mournful music from the sky was even louder. Heartless people like Yu Yang were still fine, but the sentimental fallen beauty and the rest were already in tears. That idiot, he actually abandoned himself. Humph, I don't care about him. The Qilin girl Bing-yin wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes, and her little nose snorted angrily. She knew that it was easy to seal, but it was not so easy to restore it. Because Qiongqi was a bloodthirsty and belligerent animal. It was bound to commit a lot of sins because of its superpower. If it did not pay it back, it would not be able to return to the ranks of immortal beasts, just like another fallen model of the demonic dragon. Now, Scarlet Warden Tantai Tumia, I challenge you. Qiongqi couldn't wait any longer and wanted to fight the enemy. First of all, it was used for the operation. It was Tantai Tumi, the Scarlet Warden, who had once ignored him. Why wasn't it the deity temple's supreme heavenly chariot? Qiongqi was a warmonger who advocated violence, but he was not stupid. He knew that the final boss was not someone he could challenge. Challenging Tantai Tumia was his limit. And us. On the other hand, Supreme Jin and the demon god were both unsealed by Yu Yang's hands and not sealed. The images of the 3-legged golden crow and the 9-headed black tortoise. One on the left and one on the right. It expanded to the edge of the Tian Ping world. Although they were unable to return to the ranks of the immortal beasts, with Yu Yang's unsealing, Jin Di and Yao Di's powers were unsealed after they were banished. In the name of the future divine supreme elder, he accepted and approved their actions of atoning for their sins on the battlefield. The divine power all over his body was like the sun, emitting thousands of divine lights, each like a divine sword in the sky. This was the golden crow's divine power after Supreme Jin was unsealed. On the other hand, the divine power emitted by the demon god's body was as dark as hell, engulfing half of the sky. A kind of 9 underworld demonic fire that could even burn and extinguish divine light was faintly visible in the demon god's hand. From time to time, it would engulf and transform the divine light emitted by Supreme Jin and the other powerhouses. Wow! The 2-headed dragon Guong and the others looked at Qiongqi, Supreme Jin, and the demon god enviously. Only the 3 of them were recognized by Yu Yang. The rest, including the 9-headed demon tribe and the shadow gods, did not receive the same favor, let alone the heavenly dragon tribe, who were previously enemies. Right now, there were 2 paths in front of them. The first option for Gu Ong and the others was to follow Deity's Templar's Supreme Tianyu. It seemed like this boss would definitely win. Although they wouldn't be able to be put in an important position, at least they would be able to keep their lives. If they didn't want to be the ants under Tianyu's command, Gu Ong and the others could still choose to follow the Yu clan's 3rd young master, who looked like he would definitely lose. If Titan Yu was able to reverse the situation and choose the second path, then he would be able to strike it rich. Being placed in an important position was the most basic. If he did well, he might even be able to enter the Eastern world to gain experience. Don't you need to think about it? The 2-headed dragon Gu Ong still wanted to discuss with the shadow gods, but who would have thought that the shadow gods would all rush over to Yu Yang's side? Take your time to think, there's no need to rush. Among the shadow deities, Yin Ping made a face at Gu Ong. The Black Terror race is willing to die for supremacy. The Wild Boar Demon and the Black Bear Demon knelt down. The one they were kowtowing to was not the temple's supreme heavenly chariot. Instead, it was Yu Yang. No matter how bad the situation was, they were all descendants of the goblin race. Perhaps the goblin race's bloodline was so thin that it was not even acknowledged by the Goblin Emperor, the boss of the goblin race in the Heaven Realm. However, it did not stop them from having the heart to return with pride. Even though they knew that they would definitely lose and die in battle, they still chose to do so. Furthermore, they had no regrets. Even pigs are smarter than you guys. Lu Yin from the Shadow Gods snorted. If we die, then we die. Let's go all out, let's go all out. The 2-headed dragon Gu Ong and the beautiful Queen Thousand Bones Crispy looked at each other and hurriedly rushed over. They knelt at the feet of Yu Yang, pledging their allegiance to the Yu clan's 3rd young master, whose strength could not be compared to the temple's supreme heavenly chariot. Abandoning the first option that would definitely win and be safe, and walking on the second option that would definitely fail and be dangerous, the 2-headed dragon Gu Ong even felt that he must have gone crazy to be so retarded. Are you really going to choose this way? Tianyu was a little puzzled. Can we choose again? When the 2-headed dragon Gu Ong weakly asked this question, even his companion, Myriad Bones Paralysis, felt embarrassed. Alright, I will give you a chance to choose again. The temple's supreme heavenly chariot's favorite thing to do was to endlessly attack Yu Yang. This was because this person was his mortal enemy, the biggest obstacle to becoming a divine sovereign in the future. It can't be. The demon dragon shouted. Even a thick-skinned person like me wouldn't do such a thing, you're too shameless. Shut up, don't you want to reconsider this matter? The 2-headed dragon Gu Ong was really anxious. Otherwise, he wouldn't have dared to shout at the demon dragon even if he had the guts of a water jar. What is your choice? Tianyu looked at the 2-headed dragon Gu Ong. A slap in the face. What he wanted was a slap in the face brought about by this betrayal. What he wanted to do to Yu Yang was to make him sink into complete despair, and then watch helplessly as he ascended to the divine sovereign realm with boundless pain and regret. The purpose of the fated duel was to make the name of the future divine sovereign have a divine will that could not be challenged or blasphemed. The 2-headed dragon Gu Ong returned to the center of the balanced world. He lowered his head. He looked like he was in a dilemma. As his companion, the beautiful Queen Thousand Bones Crispy couldn't help but cover her face with her hands. She couldn't bear to watch such an embarrassing scene. Alright, I've made my choice. The 2-headed dragon Gu Ong clenched his fists. He finally made up his mind on what path he would take in the future. Very good. Tell everyone clearly what choice you've made. Tell everyone what is the correct choice. The corner of Tianyu's lips curled into a smile. He was very confident. From the moment the 2-headed dragon Gu Ong changed his mind, He knew that this ant would never choose the Yu clan's third young master again. You traitor! The demon dragon was already cursing furiously. Don't run into my hands, otherwise I guarantee that you'll wish you were dead. Supreme Jin and Fey Emperor looked at the two-headed dragon Guong with extreme hatred. Ha 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 ha! Tantai Tumia laughed. The two-headed dragon Guong shouted in a trembling voice under the confused gaze of his companion, Thousand Bones Crispy. My final choice is the Yu clan's third young master. What? The temple's warriors who were watching the commotion all had their eyeballs fall to the ground. Did I hear wrongly? The demon dragon was also stunned. What? The beautiful queen, Thousand Bones Paralysis, also looked at her comrade, whose words and actions were so strange, in disbelief. Why is that? Heavenly Chariot wasn't angry. Instead, he looked calm. However, he glanced at Yu Yang and asked in a casual manner. Because I want to play a trick on you. The two-headed dragon Guong shouted with all his might under Heavenly Chariot's pressure. I'm going to rely on the Yu clan's third young master. He was originally my enemy. If I rely on him like this, even if he doesn't bring up old scores, he won't take our Heavenly Dragon clan seriously. Since I've chosen him, I have to throw caution to the wind and try to make a good impression in front of him to show my loyalty and attitude. Heavenly Chariot was stunned for a second. Then he nodded. I'm surprised. I didn't think that an ant like you would also play tricks. However, you might be gambling a little too much. The sweat on the two-headed dragon Guang's forehead flowed down like water. His hands and feet were trembling, but his voice gradually returned to normal. I won't gamble. If I rely on your side, I will die in the end. Instead of being a coward, I might as well be a hero, even if it's only for a short while. Good brat, I admire you. The demon dragon laughed so hard that snot bubbles came out of his nose. He was extremely happy that Heavenly Chariot failed to show off and got slapped in the face instead. If it wasn't for the fact that he couldn't move. He even wanted to give the two-headed dragon Guong a huge bear hug. The anger of Jin Di, Fey Emperor, and shadow deities disappeared. Even Qiongqi, the guy who looked down on others, gave him a thumbs up for the first time. The hatred of the people on Heavenly Chariot's side soared. The Scarlet Warden, Tantai Tumia, looked at the two-headed dragon Guong like a dead man. When he returned to Yu Yang's side, the two-headed dragon Guong felt so uncomfortable that he almost peed his pants. That was the supreme Heavenly Chariot of the temple. A slap in the face. Do you think you're not afraid at all? Nonsense. In the depths of the ancient passage, the high-speed shadow finally arrived. The person who came was a super expert whose strength was close to the previous Supreme Guardian of Light. He came from the Great Light Hall of the Central Shrine, and was one of Heavenly Chariot's masters. He was one of the three elders who attacked the Snake Demon Empress Fei Wenli with his companions Supreme Time and Supreme Lamp, Supreme Qihong. Supreme Qihong also had another name, Tianqi. His relationship with Heavenly Chariot. It was the biggest secret of the Great Light Mountain Central Shrine. However, no matter what the relationship between Supreme Qihong and Heavenly Chariot was, no one would doubt his role in Heavenly Chariot's life. Tianqi, who had the divine power of Qihong and the laws of Qihong, was more useful than the Supreme Guardian of Light. He was the one who brought Heavenly Chariot's path to godhood to the peak. Although he was unknown to the outside world. But Supreme Qihong was undoubtedly the greatest master in the world. Even though he was seriously injured and on the verge of death, he still rushed here, hoping to make a final contribution to the promotion of his disciple, Supreme Heavenly Chariot. Master. They were both masters, but Heavenly Chariot would never be as polite to the Supreme Guardian of Light as he was to Supreme Qihong. Even if they were the same respect, the only one who could make Heavenly Chariot act so respectfully was this old man Tianqi, who had been baptized by Qihong's divine power since birth. We must end this destiny duel as soon as possible. Supreme Chi-Hong's first words made Heavenly Chariot feel heavy. The battle outside the Times Square is over. The magic lamp has died, and Time has decided to imprison herself in the Times Square for 10,000 years to atone for her sin of escaping the light sky prison. Although the Snake Demon Empress Fei Wenli is seriously injured, with her willpower, she will definitely grit her teeth and come to help. In order to avoid accidents, this destiny duel must end before Fei Wenli arrives. Yes. Supreme Heavenly Chariot of the Temple couldn't help but clench his fists when he heard the news that the magic lamp had died and Time had imprisoned herself. But he adjusted quickly. Within half a second, that was the supreme willpower that was as still as a mountain. He glanced at Supreme Chi-Hong, who refused to accept divine power to heal his injuries, and nodded. He turned his face and looked at Yu Yang, who was looking at him from afar. It's time to end this farce. Yu Clan's third young master had used all his trump cards and no longer held back. With his current strength, it was impossible to reverse the situation. This battle would be won without a doubt. Demon Dragon fell to the ground and couldn't get up. Night Dream and Motionless were too busy fighting. Snake Demon Empress Fei Wenli, who was seriously injured in the battle in the Times Square, couldn't make it in time. Just an immortal beast child and a few weak ant-like reinforcements wanted to reverse the situation? That would be a huge joke. In this fateful battle, after a lot of sacrifices, they had finally gotten their reward in the future. The Divine Sovereign was waiting for him in the future. All those who sacrifice themselves, please rest in peace. Heavenly Chariot will not disappoint you. Supreme Heavenly Chariot of the Temple clenched his fists. His eyes revealed a kind of transcendent divine might that looked down on all living beings. It was clear that he was infinitely close to the divine sovereign realm. Yu Yang didn't dare to be careless at all. He stared at the biggest enemy in his life. Goodbye, my old enemy. After saying that, Heavenly Chariot appeared in front of Yu Yang. His fist. It hit Yu Yang's heart heavily. The supreme divine power, at this moment, was enough to shatter the entire Tianping world. It was concentrated in his fist and smashed into Yu Yang's chest with unstoppable force. Chapter 1391. Yu Yang fell. The balance scale world was shaking. The entire destroyed space was slowly restored by the ancient origin power. The balance scale world would not be destroyed, but for Yu Yang and Tian Yu who were fighting inside, this was actually a division of victory and defeat through strength. At this moment, the looming and invisible balance of the world seemed to have been overwhelmed by the incredible power of the Heavenly Chariot. The destiny balance of the two seemed to be leaning towards the side of the Divine Hall's supreme Heavenly Chariot. Tian Yu regarded this result as inevitable. If only Titan Yu could resist, could reverse. That would be strange. Sigh, this is really a boring battle. Tian Yu sighed slightly, the loneliness of an expert flashing past. Perhaps, only Conquest Queen Fei Wenli, who supported Titan Yu from behind, was truly worthy of his battle. Stand up, stand up. The demon dragon hoped that a miracle could happen again, that Yu Yang, who had been defeated countless times, could stand up again. But this time was different. This time, Tian Yu used his full strength. Under the amplification of the hundreds of thousands of laws of the temple, and after absorbing the selfless gift of divine power from the Guardian of Light, as well as the guidance of Sovereign Chi-Hong and the other seniors, Sky Chariot's divine power had been raised to an inconceivable level. Even he himself had never thought that he could possess such great power. This level of full-strength attack. Not to mention Yu Yang. Even the peerless Emperor Wu Shuang, who had collapsed previously, could not take it head-on. Seeing this result, Master Chi-Hong was very pleased. Heavily injured and on the verge of death, he silently nodded and breathed a sigh of relief. The outcome was decided. How much effort and sacrifice had the Heaven Realm put in, and now they finally got the best return. The future Divine Supreme now officially belonged to the heaven realm. Countless generations of dreams, pursuits, and sacrifices had been made. At this moment it belonged to the radiant mountain, to the central shrine. The seed that he had planted with his own hands had finally grown into a towering tree, becoming the best pillar. He had not misjudged and made the right choice. Tian Yu was truly the best candidate for the heaven realm. A sorrowful howl erupted from the depths of the Dead Sea, and a storm swept across the entire area. The gigantic paragon guardian of the Dead Sea rose from the Dead Sea. There was no joy of victory on his face. On the contrary, his expression was extremely unsightly, and his eyes were filled with grief and despair. What happened? Not to mention the ordinary warriors of the Divine Hall, even Exalt Qihong and Heavenly Chariot couldn't figure out what was going on. The warriors of the Temple of God, who had been cheering wildly for their victory, had their voices cut off like knives. Everyone looked at the Supreme Guardian of the Dead Sea in confusion. All of you are idiots. The autarch of the Dead Sea Guardian was like a madman. He roared with all his might as he shouted angrily at everyone present, including Autarch Starter and Sky Chariot. And you, Sky Chariot, you are far too arrogant. You blindly believe in your own strength and have completely abandoned all caution and humility. Damn it, you're being played in the palm of someone else's hand, yet you're still so pleased with yourself. It's really infuriating. If you could calm your fanatical mind and think about the whole situation, you wouldn't have fallen into such a passive state. What did you say? Paragon Qihong was stunned. Don't you understand what I'm saying? Have all of you become muddle-headed with age? You've done your best to support him, push him, and sweep away all obstacles for him. You think you can help him this way, but you're wrong. You've completely harmed him. You've paved a bright path for him, but do you think that's the way to heaven? You should be vigilant, not careless. The Supreme Guardian of the Dead Sea was so angry that he was about to go crazy. What exactly happened? Sky Chariot couldn't understand. His opponent in the fate duel, Yu Clan's third young master Titan Yu, had already been defeated by him. This fate duel was already a foregone conclusion. What was there to be angry about? Supreme Heavenly Chariot, the one who should reflect the most is you. The Supreme Guardian of the Dead Sea roared thunderously. Look at what you've done. You've actually been deceived by a weak warrior of Tong Tian Tower. You've been played in the palm of his hand and you're still ignorant of it. As an absolute candidate for the fate duel, you've done far from enough. I really suspect that there's something else in your brain other than muscles. Deceived. Sky Chariot was stunned. Who could deceive him? Was it the Yu Clan's third young master, who could be killed with just a punch from an infant? Or was it the Conquest Queen Fei Wenli who paid a heavy price to kill the Supreme Lamp Elder and forced the Supreme Age Elder to imprison herself in the Times Square? The Supreme Guardian of the Dead Sea glared at Sky Chariot angrily. His huge eyes were burning with raging flames. Stupid guy, do you still not understand? The one who played you in the palm of his hand is the traitor of Tong Tian Tower that you've never looked at, Dong Fong. You thought that he was a pitiful ant, but you've been played by this ant until your head was dizzy and you still haven't woken up. This is you, the arrogant Supreme Heavenly Chariot. This is the price you have to pay for your arrogance. Dong Fong. When Sky Chariot heard this name, he finally felt that something was wrong. What did Dong Fong do? The demon dragon was also confused. Something's wrong? Wasn't Dong Fong the most notorious traitor in the history of Tong Tian Tower? Why would the Supreme Guardian of the Dead Sea say that he played Sky Chariot in the palm of his hand? Shui Wuxia, who led Anan, Yu Bing and the others to hide behind the wall of sighs, suddenly stood up and explained respectfully, Senior Dong Fong, we always thought that he was a traitor of Tong Tian Tower. However, after entering the Dead Sea and learning of his will hidden in the deepest part of the Dead Sea, we finally understood that he was not a traitor of Tong Tian Tower, but a great spy who was willing to bear the infamy of 10,000 years. What? Hearing this explanation, Sky Chariot felt that it was unbelievable. Dong Feng was actually a spy? How was this possible? He was a super demon who would do anything in order to fall into Tong Tian Tower's trap. He killed countless warriors of Tong Tian Tower with his own hands or by plotting against them. Even the most outstanding genius warrior of Tong Tian Tower before the birth of Titan Yu, Prison Emperor Zhan Feng, died under his schemes. This evil person who slaughtered his own kind and stained his hands with countless blood was actually a spy? Senior Dongfang, he is a spy, the biggest spy of Tong Tian Tower in the Heaven Realm. Shui Wuxia revealed the ultimate secret of Tong Tian Tower that no one knew or guessed for 10,000 years. In order to revive Tong Tian Tower, Senior Dongfang sacrificed everything in his life and bore the infamy that no one could bear. Everything he's done is for today. Who can prove this? Supreme Elder Qihong's heart wavered, but he quickly regained his calmness and questioned. Senior Wu Shuang, Peerless Emperor, and Senior Prison Emperor Zhan Feng. Shui Wuxia pointed at the Dead Sea. In the Dead Sea, in the will of Dongfang, there are the divine wills left by the two seniors, Emperor Wu Shuangshi and Prison Emperor Zhan Feng. They can prove that everything Dongfang did was for the sake of planning, for today's destined duel. Even so? So what? Sky Chariot was furious. It was just Dongfang. It didn't matter if he was a traitor or a spy. What was the use of planning? Could he fight on behalf of Titan Yu? Or could he allow Titan Yu to stand up again and reverse the situation? Dongfang was good. He didn't care at all. He was just a weak ant. How could he destroy the destined duel between the holy supreme elders with just him? He wasn't qualified. This is you, the arrogant supreme elder Sky Chariot of the temple. This is you. Without waiting for Shui Wuxia to speak, the guardian of the Dead Sea roared angrily. If you could pay attention to every opponent, even if it was an ant, you wouldn't let your guard down. This farce wouldn't have happened at all. However, because of your arrogance, you ignored Dongfang. You, who believed in power, let him use crazy sacrifice and cunning intelligence to plot against you. You should reflect on yourself, Sky Chariot. You should really reflect on yourself. That way, you wouldn't be so confused that you didn't even know that you made a mistake. Made a mistake. Sky Chariot's expression suddenly turned ugly. He looked at Yu Yang, who was slowly crawling up from the ground, and said in disbelief, "You're saying that the opponent in the destined duel isn't Titan Yu, but his master, Conquest Queen Fei Wenli?" "Wrong." The guardian of the Dead Sea roared, "You still don't understand. Your real opponent is her." The guardian of the Dead Sea pointed with his big hand. The person he pointed at. It was a mysterious woman who rose from the Dead Sea. She was dressed in strange clothes and her face was covered with a light veil. 3 beautiful flowers that couldn't be described with words surrounded her body and slowly rotated. The fragrance they emitted instantly purified the frenzied, resentful spirits in the Dead Sea. They immediately turned from resentful, cursed spirits into weeping, repentant spirits. Their tears turned into a bloody rain that poured down, causing the Dead Sea to boil once again. What? Sky Chariot looked at this mysterious woman and realized that she wasn't in his information at all. Who was she? She inherited the ancient will of the balanced scale world in the sacred mountain and the Dead Sea. She also obtained the recognition of countless seniors. She's definitely your other choice in the destined duel. The guardian of the Dead Sea told Sky Chariot. If he made a mistake, the consequences would be dire. Impossible. If it's her, then what about Titan Yu? Sky Chariot didn't think that he had 2 opponents, and even less that there were 2 people on the other side of the destined duel. Stupid guy. In the ancient passage, a shadow was slowly moving forward. Her voice was sharper than a knife. piercing into Sky Chariot's eardrums. You still don't understand? You're like an idiot. No wonder you were fooled by those lame Eastern tricks. I really wonder if you've become stupid from practicing martial arts. Where did all your intelligence go? Maybe it's the confidence of having great power and the temptation of becoming a divine sovereign that made your head heat up. That's why you're so complacent and forgetful. Conquest Queen Vivian Lee slowly swam out of the ancient passage. She was covered in blood and had thousands of wounds. Her skin couldn't even cover her bones. But the blade in her hand still shone with a cold light. Murderous intent soared to the sky. Seeing her arrival, Sky Chariot's pupils couldn't help but shrink. When Yu Yang saw Queen Vivian Lee rushing over, he immediately rushed forward to support her. Now was the best opportunity. If he didn't please her, there wouldn't be such an opportunity next time. So my true opponent in the destined duel is you. Sky Chariot of the Deity Palace looked at the mysterious woman again. His disturbed and chaotic state of mind quickly recovered, and his confidence returned. What ability do you have? To be able to stand in front of me and compete with me for the divine sovereign position? Emperor Wu Shuang is peerless, Conquest Queen Vivian Lee, and Prison Emperor Zhan Feng. Let's not talk about these. Just the peerless genius third young master of the Yu clan that only appears once in 10,000 years. What right do you have to replace him and become the future divine sovereign of Tong Tian Tower? Because she's third young master's mother. Her Majesty's voice sounded in the depths of the ancient passage. However, she didn't come alone. With her was fourth mother, whom Yu Yang was most worried about. Behind fourth mother, there was a beautiful figure that Yu Yang had missed for a long time but had never been able to meet. She followed quietly, as obedient as a newly married wife. It was Ming Yu Guang. After parting at the Human Valley, this little girl finally reunited with him today. When Yu Yang looked at her, she mischievously made a face and blinked her beautiful big eyes, almost electrocuting Yu Yang. As for Her Majesty, who was covered in starlight, she was even more mysterious than the Night Empress. If it wasn't for her voice, Yu Yang wouldn't even dare to recognize her. Of course, when Her Majesty said this, Yu Yang couldn't care about anything else. All his attention was focused on the mysterious woman with the 3 flowers around her body. What? She's my mother? She looks very young. She doesn't look like my mother, but more like my sister. The only one to enter the gods' ruins alone in 10,000 years and obtain the recognition of countless seniors in the Times Square, the first to communicate with the Eastern world and obtain the recognition of the Eastern immortal tribe, the first to open the seal, open the heaven stairway, and let the world tree reappear, the first to create the unique life of a legitimate son through the flower of life tree, the first to use supreme wisdom to inherit and contract the divine grimoire of Tong Tian Tower, the first to pass the 10 trials, and at the same time cultivate the legitimate son to become the unique destiny's child, the future Holy Supreme Lord. Do you think she's qualified? Fourth mother held a huge grimoire in her hand. This grimoire was similar to Yu Yang's divine grimoire, but not exactly the same. Qilin girl Bing Yin and little one Li had seen it before. This was the divine grimoire in the ancient space on the 4th floor of Tong Tian Tower that was protected by the divine grimoire law. Tian Yu was stunned. Yu Tai Tan's mother was so powerful, why hadn't he heard of it before? Eastern sect, no, there were also many old guys from Tong Tian Tower. Tian Yu finally understood now. The Eastern sect deliberately created such a big mess to divert his attention. In fact, the divine grimoire was pointing to this Mama Yu, who had been growing up secretly under their full protection. Since the beginning of the battle, the Eastern sect had been misdirecting their target to the genius Yu clan's third young master. He used this to his advantage. He successfully deceived everyone. Do you still remember the prophecy of the divine armament, old man? Fei Wenli sneered. The next Holy Supreme Lord will not be a man from the soaring dragon continent, nor a woman from the demon abyss. You were very happy that it was not Emperor Wu Shuang, Peerless, nor me, Fei Wenli, nor Prison Emperor Zhan Feng. However, you did not expect that the divine armament old man was referring to the woman from Heaven's stairway, the existence that you all neglected. No, the divine armament old man also said, not from Tong Tian Tower. Supreme Elder Yong Heng was anxious. Could it be that the divine armament old man lied to him? That was impossible. He had been friends with him for almost 100,000 years. Furthermore, he did not lie at that time, it was a real divination. What does the last sentence refer to? Fei Wenli laughed. You will never understand what is going on. You will also never understand why there are two candidates for the Holy Supreme Lord position. However, as the losers, you do not need to understand this. You only need to maintain the idiotic confidence and despair of regret, and then die. If I, Fei Wenli, cannot become the Holy Supreme Lord, of course you cannot. Do you think that you can become the Holy Supreme Lord just because you have power? What a joke! Who did not pay, who did not sacrifice, who did not realize their true self. These are just the basic things. To truly become the Holy Supreme Lord, one must surpass oneself and control one's destiny. You can't even differentiate between enemies and enemies, yet you still want to compete for the position of the Holy Supreme Lord. Aren't you afraid that others will laugh their heads off? The destiny scale, the destiny duel, officially begins now. The mysterious Mama opened her mouth, and her body shone with divine light. The law of the destiny scale world. It erupted in an instant. It sublimated thousands of times, forming an invisible but real destiny scale that existed in the form of a law. On one side of the destiny scale was the divine palace's sovereign Tianyu, and on the other side was the mysterious Mama. Yu Yang, who had rushed over to welcome Fourth Mother, was not one of them. Damn it. If Tianyu still didn't know that he had made a mistake, then he would really be an idiot. He was extremely angry in his heart, but he still had enough confidence, because according to the comparison of strength, he believed that he was far superior to the mysterious woman in front of him. He was confident that he could defeat his opponent and seize the final victory. The true destiny duel has only begun now, so what? I am stronger than you, and the final victor of this battle will still be me. You are very confident. Yu Yang's mysterious little Mama smiled sweetly. However, you will never be my opponent. If I fight with you, it seems like I am bullying you, but since you insist, I will still give you a chance. Tianyu did not believe it. He felt that this was the enemy's scheme. Want to scare me away? Impossible. I am the Divine Palace's sovereign Tianyu, the man who will definitely win and become the future Holy Sovereign. On the other side, Fourth Mother first nodded and smiled at Yu Yang. She held the divine grimoire and slowly walked towards the battlefield. Sister, the divine grimoire has been brought to you. Xian, I have already said that I will give this divine grimoire to you. I have my own summoning grimoire, and in the Western Heaven Realm's Golden Divine Palace, I have contracted a new divine grimoire. The mysterious little Mama waved her hand casually, indicating that she had plenty of divine grimoires. Pooh! Not only Boss Missouri Long couldn't help but vomit blood on the spot. Even the serious people like His Majesty, Knight Empress, and even Fei Wenli couldn't bear it anymore. Damn, this mother and son are both abnormal. Her son had at least 3 grimoires, each stronger than the last, which was enough to make people feel despair. This little Mama, who looked like a little sister, was also abnormal. She had at least 2, and one of them was even the divine grimoire that others dreamed of. Wasn't abnormal not allowed to enter the same family? Chapter 1392. Since the fate duel has officially begun, let's go. Cheong Chi had been familiarizing himself with controlling his demonic power. He had just gained immense power. He needed time. However, once he familiarized himself with it, He immediately rushed towards Tantai Tumia. Scarlet Warden Tantai Tumia, let's fight again. Supreme Jean and the demonic emperor flanked him from both sides. Facing a super-strong enemy, they no longer cared about fighting one-on-one. Even if they unsealed their powers and Cheong-Chi's current strength, it was already their wish to fight Tantai Tumia to a draw. In the temple, I will bury all of you forever. Tantai Tumia was no longer as arrogant as he was before. He had seen Cheong-Chi's sealing ceremony and Supreme Jean and the demonic emperor's powers unsealed. The unsealing of Supreme Jean and the demon god's powers had already caused his heart to tremble. Cheong-Chi, whom he had not taken seriously at first, had undergone an earth-shattering transformation. If it had not been for the help of the Divine Hall's laws, he really did not have the confidence to kill these three losers. Fei Wenli, do you still have the strength to fight? Supreme Chi-Hong was determined to kill the Conqueror Queen who could change the tide of the battle. What a joke! Queen Vivian Li raised the battle blade in her hand. Her supreme will was not to be challenged. Moreover, her path to the heavens was destined to be built on the corpses of her enemies, whether it was the previous Supreme Lamp or the current Supreme Chi-Hong. Sky Chariot's expression was calm, but his eyes were on the Guardian of the Dead Sea. The Guardian of the Dead Sea had criticized him harshly, but Sky Chariot still hoped to gain this super-strong expert's full support. As long as the Guardian of the Dead Sea gave his all, no matter what kind of enemy, including the peerless Emperor Wu Shuang, they would all fall at his feet. This was the supreme Guardian of the Dead Sea that no expert could deny. Kill! Without waiting for the Guardian of the Dead Sea to say anything, Yu Yang had already made the decision for him. Yu Yang soared into the sky, his sovereigns will breaking free from the heavenly chariot's divine palace's seal that covered the entire Libra world. All of his power condensed into a sword, and he chopped down at Sovereign Chi-Hong, who was fighting with Fei Wenli. On the other side, the illusory moon goddess, Shui Wuxia, and the others had all unleashed their full strength. They cooperated tacitly and gathered as one to attack this honorable Chi-Hong, who was heavily injured and on the verge of death, but whose strength could still look down on all living beings. Paragon Chi-Hong took the attack head-on and forced Yu Yang and the others back. However, he also coughed up a mouthful of blood. Clowns, go to hell! Seeing Paragon Chi-Hong vomit blood, Heaven Charger was enraged. He extended his hand. 3,600 beams of divine light shot out from his body. Every beam of divine light with terrifying power shot out like a spear towards every enemy in the surroundings. At the same time, the heavenly net law tightened, strangling all the enemies entangled in it and suffocating them. Thanks to Heaven Charger's will, the countless divine palaces also spewed out billions of rays of light, forming various divine power vortexes that engulfed every enemy trapped in the heavenly net. In his fury, Heaven Charger, the divine palace's sovereign, unleashed his full strength. He even regretted it afterwards. He felt that he shouldn't have killed all the enemies at once, because that would be too boring. Due to all sorts of twists and turns in this predestined duel, he should have tortured his enemies to death one by one, letting each of their souls repent in his hands, wail in pain, and beg for death. Only then would he be able to vent his hatred. As for the tricks that the clown from the east deliberately played, it was just a joke. He wanted to use his strongest power to show him what the true way of the king was. Be it the upper realm or the lower realm, only strength was respected in this world. Flying flowers! The mysterious little mother snapped her fingers. The 3,600 beams of divine light shot out of Heaven Charger's body, as well as the divine power vortexes formed by the heavenly net and the divine palace law, instantly turned into petals that filled the sky. The three sky-reaching clan's warriors who were almost killed instantly felt their bodies lighten, and all recovered from suffocation. Those who were previously injured. In the rain of petals, they recovered rapidly, and the injuries on their bodies healed automatically, as if they had absorbed the source of life. Fatty Hai, Yikong, and the other exhausted warriors stood up one after another, their strength gushing out like an underground volcano, inexhaustible. This is the power of creation. Sovereign Shihong understood. If Heaven Charger had a stronger destruction, then his opponent, the young lady, had a stronger creation. Although her attack power wasn't strong, her creativity had reached an unimaginable and wonderful realm. Even the enemy's destruction could be turned into her own creation. Moreover, it was a creation that was like a source of life. It would be of great help to the 3 clans of the Tong Tian Tower. Seeing this, Sovereign Shihong didn't dare to be careless anymore, and hurriedly shouted at the stunned Heaven Charger, "Don't worry about us, you only need to be in charge of the predestined duel. Your victory is the most important. Heaven Charger, get rid of your anger, maintain your rationality, and increase your creation in the midst of destruction. Use the divine palace law to maintain your power, and use the supreme will to drive your divine power. Don't be disturbed by the enemy. The enemy is good at illusions, so you must maintain your absolute self." Understood. Heaven Charger had been guided by Sovereign Shihong's wisdom all his life, and when Sovereign Shihong revealed the truth, he immediately regained his confidence and rationality. "You actually don't understand anything." The mysterious little mother smiled sweetly and shook her head. Heaven Charger was about to punch. He suddenly realized that he was already in a garden. The garden wasn't big, but the grass was everywhere, flowers were blooming, butterflies were dancing, and naughty birds were jumping and chirping on the branches. Looking up, there were white clouds and the blue sky was clear. The whole world was incomparably fresh. The mysterious little mother stood in front of him. She didn't look like a seated contestant in the predestined duel, but more like a young girl playing happily under the sun. A dreamlike illusion? Break. Heaven Charger guessed that this was a dream like Princess Yimeng. Heaven Charger's divine power was like a tide. It was enough to collapse mountains and seas. But it hit the garden, but it didn't itch or hurt, just a drizzle. Heaven Charger didn't believe it and released another wave of divine power. Tens of thousands of divine light enveloped the entire Libra world, but in the end it turned into a light breeze. The little mother waved her hand. "Your killing power is far above your creation, Heaven Charger of the temple, you care too much about your power. You can't go far if you walk on one foot. You may have worked hard and paid a lot, but unfortunately your efforts are in the wrong direction. Shut up." Heaven Charger tried his best to suppress his anger and let reason return to his heart. "Is this the legendary South Divergence?" Yu Yang asked curiously. "Yes." His Majesty nodded. "I've said it before, his efforts can't catch up to yours, because his direction is wrong, and he has completely embarked on a path of no return." Shui Wuxia sighed slightly. With his talent, he should have achieved even more, but for some reason, perhaps because of the misdirection of the East, the direction of this path has unknowingly taken a wrong turn. 10,000 years of bitter cultivation and countless sacrifices in exchange for unparalleled power, it's really regrettable. Everyone should take this as a warning, this is the biggest lesson. Heaven Charger's eyes were about to spit fire, but he was still rational. "No matter what you say, don't even think of shaking my will. Whether it's an illusion or a dream, it's all just an illusion to my eyes. I will definitely win this fated battle, everything you've done is useless." "Well said, fool." The demon dragon applauded vigorously. "Fool." Cheongqi followed closely behind. "Ha, I'm just a fool, don't ask me how stupid I am, my bitter cultivation for 10,000 years was all for naught." Fatty Hai wretchedly twisted his big butt. This kind of disgusting behavior even his companions couldn't bear. Yikong quietly picked up his rod and prepared to put this fellow down, but who knew that the wind-breath seabird was faster and struck Fatty Hai's head with lightning, waiting for the mountain of flesh demon king to turn into charcoal before kicking this worm to the ends of the earth. Seeing that Heaven Charger was trapped in his opponent's flower array and couldn't escape, Supreme Chi Hang hurriedly asked for help from the Guardian of the Dead Sea. "Let's work together and kill Titan Yu." However, the Guardian of the Dead Sea was no longer as confident as Supreme Chi Hang. His expression was solemn. Supreme Chi Hang nodded slightly and said, "I need another ball of godlight. If the 3 godlights are ineffective, then my power will end here. Tianqi, perhaps you have it too. This is especially obvious in my heart. It's a very bad premonition. Although you and I have already understood life and death, there are some things in this world that transcend life and death. Do you understand what I mean?" "I understand." Supreme Chi Hang glanced at Heaven Charger, who was still attacking in the garden, trying to break through the bewildering barrier, and a hint of determination appeared at the corner of his lips. "This is the path we chose in the past. We have all walked this path, and put in all our effort. Now, it's already impossible to turn back, we can only continue forward." "Then I wish you good luck, Tianqi." The Guardian of the Dead Sea nodded. "Thank you." A ball of godlight appeared on Supreme Chi Hang's forehead. It was white, clean, and had a natural light of wisdom. After releasing the white godlight from his soul, Supreme Chi Hang seemed to have gone through an extremely difficult battle. He was drenched in sweat, and at the same time, the light of wisdom in his eyes dimmed. Holding this small ball of godlight with great care, Supreme Chi Hang was a little reluctant, but also a little determined. He suddenly threw it to the Guardian of the Dead Sea. And the Guardian of the Dead Sea solemnly received it. He held it in his palm. The red and gold balls of godlight around his body fused with the white. In an instant, the entire Tianping world was divided into 3 colors. The 2 sides of the sky were red and gold, while the center was white. The Guardian of the Dead Sea, who had a body of 60,000 meters, placed the 3-colored godlight on his forehead, and drew out a ball of burning godfire from his divine throne, letting it burn below the 3-colored godlight. 3-colored godlight. Student Yu Yang drooled as he watched. After waiting for so many days, he finally saw the other 3-colored godlight, although it was still in the enemy's hands. However, after fusing the 5-colored godlight into one, he would definitely be safe. "The thing that belongs to me, I must take it back." While Yu Yang was still daydreaming, a giant hand appeared in the sky, pressing down on his head with a rumbling sound. At this time, whether it was Fei Wenli, His Majesty, or the Ji Zun who had rushed back to the battlefield, none of them could stop the attack of the Guardian of the Dead Sea Ji Zun. 3-colored godlight. He blocked all of their attacks. At the periphery of the godlight, Princess Sisai and the others could not even break through the godlight and enter the battle circle to resist the Guardian of the Dead Sea with Yu Yang. In another corner of the battlefield, with the help of the temple's law, the Scarlet Warden Tantai Tu Mie's giant fist was like the sun in the sky, forcing Cheong Chi, Jin Di, and Yao Di to retreat. Tian Tu Mie and Tian Tu Mie also fought against Tian Zhu. The blood-colored god power cut Tian Zhu's body black and blue. If not for the divine sword in his hand and the Dragon Emperor's protection, Tian Zhu would have fallen to the ground. The suppression of the temple's law prevented the warriors of the Tong Tian Tower from using even a tenth of their strength. Even Fatty Hai, Yi Kong and the others were in a tough battle. Xue Tan Lang and Prince of Tian Luo exploded with fire and ice. They struggled to hold on. Fortunately, Yu Yang had bestowed divine emblems on the warriors of the 3 clans of Tong Tian, which matched them with limitless divine power. It was equivalent to having a divine throne, and they could continuously use the divine power from Yu Yang's divine throne to sustain their own lives. Titan Yu, is this all you've got? The Guardian of the Dead Sea's giant hand had already enveloped Yu Yang's head. He will be the key to the battle. The heavily injured Guardian of Chi Hang released his greatest god power to suppress Yu Yang's 10,000-meter-tall god body. This allowed the Guardian of the Dead Sea to attack with all his strength and kill this young genius of the Tong Tian Tower, who was mistaken as another candidate for the Divine Supreme. Paragon Starter had the wisdom of Starter. Although he couldn't completely see through the truth of the entire situation, he had the same premonition as the Paragon Guardian of the Dead Sea. Moreover, his premonition was getting stronger and stronger. He had a feeling that the key to victory lay with this seemingly weak young man. "If you don't have any other moves to deal with me, then say your last words." The Guardian of the Dead Sea deeply regretted that he had focused all his attention on the peerless Emperor Wu Shuang. If he had discovered this earlier and killed this young man, perhaps the situation would not have turned out like this. Yu Yang faced the giant palm that was pressing down on him. It was as if he was terrified. He did not move at all. His behavior greatly confused the Guardian of the Dead Sea and Master of Qi Hang. Impossible, this was definitely not the behavior of someone who was about to die. There must be some kind of trick, but now that things had come to this, how could he stop? The heavy palm pressed down with boundless god power. It easily drowned Yu Yang. Successfully killed. The Guardian of Qi Hang hurriedly looked at the expressions of Fei Wenli and the others. Fei Wenli, the proud queen of conquest, was expressionless. He could not see anything. Princess Yimeng was shining under the starlight, so he could not see anything. Then he looked at the mysterious little mother, who was suppressing Tianyu in the garden. She was said to be Titan Yu's mother. Her face was covered with a light veil, but her big eyes that could speak carried a sweet smile. There was not a trace of the pain of losing a son. Finally, he looked at Titan Yu's wives. Their expressions were normal. They did not look like they had lost their husbands at all. "It's a trap!" Autarch Starter let out a frantic roar, and the Death Sea Guardian immediately halted his attacks as well. "Ah, how dare you plot against the future divine sovereign!" An eternal power was born from under the giant palm. Although it was very small, this was an absolute eternal will born from the ancient primal chaos space of the 10th trial. She had been sleeping since she was born. Only when her master was under the greatest threat of his soul being destroyed by God power did she awaken in anger. It was a little doll, as thin as a baby girl. Her body was wrapped by a single ribbon of life. She could not speak at all, but her spiritual will was innately superior to all things. She was born from the ancient primal chaos. Since the day Yu Yang created her, she had an absolute eternal will and an immortal life. The fate divine power in Yu Yang's body, which was sealed by the sword Qi and could not be used, was pulled out by her small hands. If it wasn't for the heavenly sword goddess's seal being too tight, Yu Yang, who still had a lot of room for improvement, would have instantly raised her cultivation to the great success realm, the Holy Supreme Elder Realm. Her potential would have been completely awakened, and her realm would have reached the highest peak of cultivation. The destiny divine power that was as vast as the sea, even if only a small part of it was unsealed, made Yu Yang undergo a complete transformation. Although Yu Yang was still unable to use all of the destiny divine power, a gap had already been opened in his body. Or perhaps it was a door. A sealed door that Yu Yang had never been able to open before. He did not need to awaken the destiny giant. He did not need the destiny divine weapon. That way, he would be able to use as much divine power of destiny as he wished. Oh no! It was too late for Sovereign Qihong to regret now. He realized that his divine throne had been shattered by the angry little doll's ribbon of life. His soul was shocked and he almost fainted. Danger! On the other side, the Guardian of the Dead Sea was in an even worse state after being attacked by the absolute eternal will. His 60,000-meter tall body fell to the ground with a loud bang. His protective divine equipment, divine armor, and divine weapon all exploded. Fortunately, he had the tricolor divine light. He protected his soul. Otherwise, this attack would have been an eternal annihilation. This little baby is so powerful. Bao Er clapped her hands heartlessly. Other than her, everyone else was shocked, including Yu Yang. He did not expect that the she he created would have such terrifying power. He did not resist, just now, because he was waiting for the heavenly sword goddess to unseal or Koki no Koki's sword chi fusion to help. He did not expect the heavenly sword goddess to restrain herself, but this sleeping little girl woke up angrily and even beat up the two supreme sovereigns. Is this really not a dream? After defeating the two supreme sovereigns, the little girl yawned cutely, turned into a beautiful ray of eternal light, and returned to Yu Yang's soul to rest. Mo Long and the others' eyeballs almost dropped to the ground. If they knew that there was such a powerful guardian, why did they still protect Yu Yang? Wouldn't it be better to push him out and let him be beaten to death? Boss Missouri Long hated himself for being so stupid. If he had pushed Yu Yang out when the guardian of the Dead Sea was intercepted, the little girl would have exploded earlier, and there would not be such a bitter battle today. The peerless emperor might not have died. Of course, if the peerless emperor did not die, he might not have been able to become Yu Yang's boss. Forget it. It's better this way. Mo Long thought about it and felt that it was more suitable for him to be the boss. You're already a holy sovereign? Sovereign Shihong looked at Yu Yang as if he had seen a ghost. It seems so. Yu Yang was familiarizing himself with the fate power of riot. Because he had released too much fate power, although it was temporary, it was not easy to control. You're already a holy sovereign, why are you still fighting with us for the future holy sovereign? Sovereign Shihong felt like he was going to go crazy. You're clearly a holy sovereign already, yet you're still running over here to fight against Heavenly Chariot, pretending to be on the other side of the future holy sovereign. Why, you're just trying to scam me to death. Furthermore, after fighting for so long, you've been pretending to be a weakling, allowing others to bully you. Is this really something a holy sovereign should do? I have my own difficulties. Yu Yang was very sincere. Indeed, if not for the heavenly sword goddess's seal, he would have already ascended and left the heaven realm. You can't hurt a guy from another world who has already leveled up but is unable to use his true strength. Furthermore, whether this young master is a candidate or not, isn't that up to you? I didn't say a single word, nor did I admit it from the start. If you want to blame someone, you can only blame that Dongfang fellow for being too cunning. He was the one who tricked you into running around in circles. If you want to settle accounts, go find him. But he's already dead. He committed suicide in the sky above the Dead Sea, not even a speck of him was left. That's what happened. I'm just following your wishes and cooperating with you. I'm just a free volunteer. Yu Yang's explanation caused Sovereign Shihong and Sovereign Guardian of the Dead Sea to have the urge to vomit blood. How did things turn out like this? Sovereign Shihong's biggest regret was accepting the traitor of Tong Tian Tower, Dongfang, into the central shrine. You guys can slowly settle accounts with Dongfang, but settle mine first. I'm in a bit of a hurry. Yu Yang touched his face. My face, as a holy sovereign, has been punched countless times by your sky chariot, causing me to vomit countless amounts of blood. Now, isn't it time to settle accounts? No matter what, I'm still a holy sovereign. What would happen if I don't retaliate or scold back? I'll definitely be a bad role model for the kids, so I want to say I've tolerated you guys for a long time. Not good. The Guardian of the Dead Sea was shocked, but not because of Yu Yang's outburst, but because he heard a heavenly sound. A heavenly sound that resonated in the soul. Two balls of flames. They appeared from an unknown place in the sky. In an instant, they turned into two Nirvana flames phoenixes. They rushed into the Guardian of the Dead Sea's tricolored divine light, their seven-colored tails carrying the tricolored divine light, circled 3 times in the void, and then landed on Yu Yang's shoulder with phoenix cries. Yu Yang had a stroke of luck, and summoned the black and green divine lights, at the same time igniting the Nirvana pillar that soared to the sky. The Phoenix Sisters circled around the pillar, and the tricolored divine light and the sealed bicolored divine light all entered it. Finally, there was a loud rumble. Around the Nirvana pillar, red, gold, green, black, and white divine lights shot into the sky. Yu Yang was so excited that he almost let out a long roar. Suddenly, from the depths of his soul, a familiar sword chi faintly came out. In Yu Yang's hands, 7 sword chis immediately erupted. Black Guai Tsang, White Xuanhua, Qi Shaolian, Orange Hongguang, Wang Lung Yuan, Green Jade Wave, and Green Taiyuan. The majesty of the divine sword shook the heavens and the earth. In the instant that Yu Yang's mind was clear, he seemed to see the figure of the heavenly sword goddess. The last 2 swords that he had never used before, Blue Sea and Purple Star, also soared into the sky, gushing out into the sky. The 9 swords merged into one. The balanced world seemed to have been redivided, and the laws were re-established, turning into chaos. Perhaps only a second had passed, or perhaps it had been 1,000 years or 10,000 years. When Yu Yang's mind left, the 9 swords had already disappeared without a trace. The Nirvana pillar disappeared, and the Phoenix sisters who were originally flying around the pillar also disappeared. In the sky there was only the 5-colored divine light left, soft like feathers. All the divine lights were brand new. They were not the same. They were also one. 5 into 1. The guardian of the Dead Sea stretched out his hand towards the 5-colored divine light, but they floated away from his huge palm and gently descended on the top of Yu Yang's head, entering his divine throne. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.